We'll put new podcast name. Same jackasses, but new podcast name. Thank you, Springer, for coming back.
Okay.
We have a unnamed producer that's off camera.
David.
Hi, David.
David's the name, yeah.
Hi, David. Say cheers, buddy. Cheers.
I was going to say, he's just the only Jew sitting in the back.
But you'd ask me, I just want to get this out of the way, why I'm rebranding. And it's because, I've been wanting this for a while, like just a different name. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get away from the OnlyFans shit because that was very clearly, because it was the mindset at the beginning. Like, I didn't think this was going to last fucking more than 6 months. Didn't expect it to, and now it's become what it's become. So I'm very happy about, but I just didn't expect all this to happen. And then it really sunk in when I did Casadas. And I was in the green room with the headliner, and we were just talking back and forth, about my life, and like how I've been doing stand-up and all that stuff. And she was like, oh yeah, and you run a podcast, right? And I was like, yeah. And when we were talking about the podcast back and forth, I was like really hoping she wasn't going to ask me
the name
of the podcast. And then after that first night, I was like, oh,
I gotta change it.
I think I should probably change the name.
I already kind of knew you were going to too.
Yeah.
The second you had people on that were possible governors and stuff,
yeah,
they might not want to be associated with that kind of name. And I was like, he's going to change it. I knew you were.
Well, and there's a certain, I'm not going to say who, I still want to get him back on at some point, but there's a certain politician hopeful that I was going to get on the podcast, and he ghosted me. But I feel like a part of it was because we were going back and forth twice over email, but I think part of the reason why he said no was because the fucking name.
Yeah, I mean, could it be associated to that frat bro podcast?
And like you see all like the thought podcasts and all like this dumb shit that's around, and like what was the podcast that like Kamala went on?
Oh, Call Her Daddy.
Daddy. And like I feel like that one lost a lot. Like there was already credibility lost, but then you see it on that or see her on that, and
that's what everybody was like saying before, because like she would talk about wild stuff, and like it was like the titles was like some wild title was the previous video, and then right above it was Kamala Harris. And it's like, how could you take those two serious when you have like the wildest name for a title?
Oh yeah, and
then right above was Kamala Harris.
This is the new sign, by the way, people. It's supposed to be going behind me, but it weighs 30 fucking pounds, and I'm in a condo that has really weak drywall. So we're figuring that one out.
And to the paint that's already ripped off the wall from trying the first time.
Nevin from the Slums of Harvard made this one again, so big thank you to him for that. Yeah, that's the fucking sound of the sign hitting the ground. So eventually, there will be a thing behind me, and then I was looking at your camera angle, and I need to put some more stuff behind you on that side. Mm-hmm. I need to fix that.
Yeah, that wall's whack.
Yeah. Does my mic sound kind of weird compared to his? Speaking of your mic?
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's not as deep, right? There should be more like...
I don't know. His sounds better than yours for sure.
It does, right?
It definitely does.
He's got a smoother voice.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to figure this out real quick. Does that sound better?
Yeah.
Does that sound better? Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay. So yeah, that's why. It just, and when I had that conversation with the fucking, the headliner, and I wanted to fucking get her on the podcast, but I was like, I doubt she's fucking going to, anyways. I'm a fucking little, like, wannabe comedian. But the name on top of it, and then the embarrassment that I felt of advertising my own brand, I was like, I think it's time for a new one. And down the line, there are going to be doors that I would like open to me that aren't going to be right now. And let's fucking face it, like podcasts, unless your podcast really takes off, podcasts have a ceiling. And OnlyFans, like akin, or OnlyFans lampooning brands have a much lower ceiling. You know what I mean? Like podcasts are already right here, and then like the OnlyFans knockoffs are like right here.
You're like, bitch, I don't even got a ceiling. I'm barely making it to the coffee table.
Yeah, I know exactly. So it's about, and I figured the best time to do it was like when I change studios. So
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. But okay.
What is this, the fourth studio?
Garage. House.
No, garage. Me and Danielle lived together, and then your house, and then here.
No,
so yeah,
and then the other house with Joey. So 5.
This is the fifth studio then.
Fifth, yeah. Fuck. Yeah, fifth one. Okay, so this isn't going to come out for a few weeks, but we just got done with RFK's hearing. Tulsi's just got done today. I haven't seen Tulsi's.
Did she get confirmed yet or no?
No. They haven't even voted in RFK yet. But
another 30 hours? Or?
Something like that. But they brought RFK back for the second one, and I haven't watched the second one yet, but I've seen clips from it. If you could go to YouTube and just look up RFK Bernie Sanders hearing, it's not. I don't want to spoil it before he gets to it, but it's not an exaggeration to say that he smacks the fuck out of him.
Dude.
Smacks the fuck out of him.
The amount of backpedaling I never heard or seen of a 90-year-old man try to go that fast.
Like Bernie was like asking questions or what?
Yeah, he was a part of the committee that was questioning RFK.
How old's Bernie? He's like 80-something, 90?
Bernie Sanders' age.
I don't know.
Old as shit.
83.
Oh, 83.
Fuck!
Dude, he looks like he beat Betty White.
Dude, I know. My grandfather died at 84, I think, 83. Didn't this motherfucker's around? What the fuck?
Socialism ages a motherfucker.
Well, I wonder how.
Look at Donald Trump with his capitalism.
Donald Trump age.
He's 87, no?
No.
Donald Trump is 78 years
78. Why are... Oh, so
Dyslexic.
I'm dyslexic.
Yeah,
is
dyslexic,
what I
that's
am.
all.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the amazing people over at Chop Chili. Guys, this is personally my favorite chili brand here in the state of New Mexico, and you can find them online at chopchilico.com. You can also find them all across the state of New Mexico at Sprouts, Albertsons, Smith's, and a bunch of other stores in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Las Cruces. I believe they're even down in El Paso now. They sell red and green chili, of course. My personal favorite is this blend of red and green, and they also sell online frozen bags of green chili. So again, go to chopchilico.com to get yourself some amazing chili today. Now back to the podcast. But so I did watch all of Pete Hegseth's hearing.
I didn't watch any of it.
And that was a fucking travesty.
Yeah, I watched where they were voting him in. That's all the part that I got.
Yeah, I
What
watched
was going on with that one?
Basically, they were just dragging him through the mud because he's cheated on his previous wife and because he may or may not have gotten drunk at a couple of business parties. And then there's an allegation that he had brought a bunch of people to a strip club for... Hand me the TV remote. There's an allegation that he may or may not have brought in people to a strip club for an office party when he was running this nonprofit, this veteran organization, Veterans for America, right? Or some shit like that?
Something like that.
And so there's this allegation that he had brought all these people there to a strip club and made people uncomfortable and like made people get lap dances and got drunk at the strip club.
So what the fuck does he think like Dick Cheney and Dick Army did?
But it's not even that. It's not even that. It was like who he was before in the Army. I mean,
or what he did.
But the thing is, after he I guess he came to faith, and I think he's part of the Orthodox Church, and so he has like the Orthodox cross tattooed on his chest.
Yeah.
And everybody was tying that to like white supremacist groups and all of a sudden I was like, dude, the Orthodox that.
Well, and then my whole thing too is like
any of that by 1,000 years.
Well, my whole thing is like they only hit him on his character, with the exception of his views on women in the military, and because he's written in his book, he said on the Sean Ryan show that he vehemently believes that women should not be in combat. I'd have to agree, and because I never understood. Outside of like the whole my body, my choice thing from the feminist movement, I never understood why sending women to combat is the pro-women choice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like, and there's a lot of people that disagree with me on this. I've had this conversation a few times, but like, just the way that. Feel free to tell me if I sound like a fucking idiot. But
idiot. I'm just kidding.
Thanks. But the way my logic goes is like, okay, you start big and work your way in. War is bad. Mm-hmm. War is not good. People die in war. We should avoid unnecessary death. Okay. Then you come in and say, all right, the last 20 years of American foreign policy has been disaster after disaster after disaster. Okay. Going even further, it's like, okay, they want more inclusion. They want more people to serve in the military. That's awesome. And they want to include women in combat roles. Women have been in the military for decades, but they want to include them in combat roles. Okay. Combat means you have the potential of dying, and American soldiers do die in conflict. Okay. So you're telling me that you're going to take a group of humans that are biologically inferior to the other group of humans, and you're going to make them go fight the group of humans that are biologically superior, meaning that they are more likely to die in combat which means you want to put women in a scenario where they are at a disadvantage, but that's the pro-woman answer?
They're just trying to fuck up America's KD.
Oh my God!
That's good.
That's funny. Oh my God. But you see my point?
Yeah, no,
It's like, how is that the pro-woman choice? Outside of letting them do whatever they want to do.
But
did you ever see the Vet TV joke where they only had one woman to ever pass, like, what was it?
Oh, it was
The
BRC.
ICS?
Right? I think it was BRC.
No, it was just being an infantry officer.
Okay.
IOC is what
that
it
what it
is. Infantry officer school or whatever.
Candidate school or whatever.
Yeah, so or infantry officer course.
I don't want to correct you, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry. But Donnie O'Malley dresses up as a woman because he was originally just some Marine that decided to transition at some point and then decided to go be a grunt officer. And they have like these parodies with like the other Marine officers, and they're like, there's a reason 26 of the Marines' hardest females have tried this and failed. It's because when you put 100 pounds of equipment on the back of a female, she crumbles like a fucking cookie. And everybody's just like talking about how phenomenal it is that a woman, obviously a tranny,
Right.
you know, passed IOC.
Yeah.
And it was just like this huge ordeal. And the whole skit is fucking hilarious. But obviously the premise is, you know, when you look at how the Marine Corps handled, because they even preface it with the fact that the Army has had, I think at that point they had like 40 plus females pass their infantry officer courses. Yeah. So the Army's all sad because now women are like in charge of full battalions and platoons and whatnot. And the Marines are still having this perfect record of failing every female out. Yeah. And it, you know, obviously it's a whole parody. But at the end of the day, you realize it is truly life or death. And a man can have kids with as many women as he wants, right? And women can obviously, you know, got to take a 10-month break in between each one.
And they have a set amount of...
And we're replaceable, let's be honest.
Yeah.
On every...
No, if there's a graph and the y-axis is how replaceable you are, and the x-axis is how capable you are in combat. Men just hit it. We cross perfectly and right in the middle.
Women are a little less replaceable. You know, we got to keep the population
less
going. We got to protect them.
They're down here.
There's a reason why during hunting season I can't just fucking clock a doe and fold it in half like a lawn chair with a 30-06. But when I see a buck, it still's got to be a little bit more mature. Humans are the same way. We got to protect the females, and we're expendable.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah. And I don't know, man.
Genuine question though: would you even have to like impose that as a law that females can't be a combat role, or could you just raise the standard back?
So here's what they did. So here's what they did in the Army.
Standard across.
Right. So here's what they did in the Army. Right. So here's the way to answer your question. So the Army changed the PT test in like 2000, like beginning of 18, I think, around there, and they changed it from gender, and they color coded all the MOSs. And I don't remember all the colors, but it's like white, green, blue, red, and black. I don't know if red is there, but I know that white is the easiest and black is the hardest. And so all the combat MOSs, like infantry and all that shit, those are the fucking designated black MOSs. And the only differentiator of like lowering scores is age. And so they're like, okay, well, now everyone's going to take the PT test, and as long as you can take the PT test and pass it, you can stay in your MOS, right? That was the plan. But then what ended up happening was when they started rolling out women, they started with the officers first. So they started rolling out women infantry officers. It wasn't a huge, I think there was like, they allowed infantry officers, and then like 6 or 8 months later, they allowed enlisted, because it was a pretty short period of time. But my point is, no, I'm just kidding. Because they did it after we came back from deployment. So it was like maybe a year and a half. I take that back. So point is when they started rolling out the infantry officers, there were mandates that were put out to the different states whose National Guards were like the pilot programs, and we were one of them. And they were like, okay, well, you guys have to have this amount of infantry officers that are female in your battalions by the end of whatever year it was. I think they gave them 2 years or some shit like that. And I think the quota was like maybe like 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have a super small National Guard like New Mexico does, where there's one infantry battalion, and there's only 3, because I think Charlie got defunct, I think. So there's like 3 companies in the entire battalion, and then that means that there are a possible of what? So that would be like 6, 7, 8. So 8 officers per company. So what that's 24, right? So 24 officers total. So 2 or 3 of those need to be female. It's a small percentage, but it's not insignificant.
No.
Right? And so it's like, it's cool. In my opinion, it's like, it's cool that you change the standards to be just, can you meet the standard or do you not? But when you start adding mandates on top of it,
right,
that's not good.
And that's how you kill people. I mean, look at California, right? With like the whole fire department shit, where, you know, they cut who it was that was allowed to be in said position. And I mean, years ago with the fire department here, when I applied, one of the recruiting guys was friends with my pops, and he told him, he was like, yeah, you know what's unfortunate is we have race and gender quotas that we have to meet.
Yeah.
And that's just, so we have subpar people coming in just because they're different.
Right. And then obviously, because you're going to have a lower pool, this is just where my brain goes to, you're going to have a lower pool of applicants that are women. So obviously, if that's going to be the lower percentage of your overall quota, you're going to knock out the lower percentage first. Mm-hmm. Which is inevitably going to, yes, in theory, is it going to knock out the bottom rungs of the male quota? Sure. But what if the bottom rungs of the male quota beat out the top rungs of the female quota? That's just a hypothetical. That's not being insulting. Right. That's just a hypothetical, A. And then B, what the fuck was I going to say? Because they had the quota. They had the quota, and it was like 2 to 3 officers. I was some train of thought, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, generally speaking, if you're going to say you have, about men.
Well, was there a different like woman's like
no
officer candidate score or whatever it was, or it was the exact same?
It was the exact same. It was per job. But my whole thing too, though, is like this should also apply to men, because there's a fuck ton, and anybody who's been in an infantry company, active or guard, knows this, that there are fucking NCOs that are incredibly overweight, that pencil in their scores and just say, yeah, I passed. And are they good at their jobs? That's a case-by-case basis. But this should apply to the fucking men too. To be quite honest with you, if you are fat, overweight, and old, you probably shouldn't be an infantry squad leader. Just saying. You probably shouldn't be in that job. Like, there's an argument for first sergeant. There's an argument for sergeant major. Should they be fat? No, but you get old, you have a couple kids, and you become lazy. That's an American thing now. It just is.
Dude, so my wife's pregnant and I'm already gaining weight. I'm like, fuck, where'd my wiener go? This thing.
Congratulations on that,
hidden
by the way.
A fupa.
Because you're 2 months away. We're basically in February.
Yes.
2.5.
Yeah, 2 and some change.
Congratulations. But yeah, but you see my point? It's like this should apply to fucking men too, not just women.
Right.
If you're gonna apply a blanket standard, everybody should have to meet it. Sorry, because there's also super skinny fucking dudes, and guess what? I was one of them when I first joined. I remember my first drill. They put me as a part of a weapons squad, and they made me the assistant gunner. And they're like, "Guess what, they're like, "Guess what, Private Vargas? We're gonna go that way for a few miles. Here's your 600 rounds of 7.62 ammo. Here's your tripod. Here's your spare barrel. Oh, here's your weapon. Here's all your stuff. Here's your fucking body armor. Have fun." And I'll never forget this. I literally packed everything in my little assault pack. I don't know how I did it, but they showed me. I packed everything in the assault pack. I put the assault pack on the bleachers. I snuggled into the assault pack and stood up and almost fell. I had body armor. I had maybe 95, 105 pounds on me, and I was only like $150. So I almost doubled my fucking weight. And I just like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this. I'm not gonna be a bitch. My first drill. I'm just gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna complain later, and I certainly did. But I'm just gonna fucking do my thing and just go through pain. And I'll see a doc if I break something. Whatever.
Dude, that's what I loved about being like middle of the pack in size when I was going through EOD school. It was like, you couldn't fuck up too drastically. Like on litter carries, we had like the short dudes that were just ruining it for everybody else, and they were just on each other's shit list. Then you had the tall guys, and they're like, bend your fucking knees more while you're walking, and everybody's like trying to scratch, and just being like at a steady like 5'9", 5'10" if I'm wearing my heels. I like
with
just
big boots on.
Yeah. If I was on my tippy toes, but like being in the middle of the pack, like you didn't get yelled at for like dumb shit like that, or when they were like throwing weight down. as far as like my overall body weight, never had to worry about like anything being like too heavy or too light. It's just all solid in the middle. But like we had this one kid, bro, he was scrawny, ran fast as shit. But you threw weight on him and he looked like he was about to die. And I was like, oh, thank God I'm not that child.
Yeah, that was me. That was me. Thankfully, I finally put some fucking weight on, but I was tiny as shit. And I was like, and I'll be real. I remember like getting 3 miles into it and I was like, thank God I'm not a chick. Oh my God. My pussy would be screaming right now. Like, this is bad. My clit would be falling off. Like, this is not good.
That's how that works.
This is not good. But yeah, you get my point. Like, the standards should be applied across the board. And then, before we play this, because you guys kind of brought it up a little bit earlier, I don't think it's a big point of what Hexeth was talking about, but there is a solid argument that transgenders should not be in the military. And it's not transphobic. It's not because they're different or because they're mentally ill or whatever. It's because to be in the military, you should be deployable. If you are experiencing a medical condition, or if you had certain, I had a fucking hernia surgery almost 2 years ago. I couldn't go to annual training because of my surgery, and I was technically out of deployable status for like 8 months. 9 months or something like that. So I wasn't deployable for 8 months because of a hernia surgery.
Dude, I remember the hell they rose about people and their fucking wisdom teeth.
Yeah. Dental's a huge one. That's why in your pre-deployment stuff, one of the biggest medical boxes you have to get a green on. You can't go yellow. You have to get a green on before you deploy is dental. You have to have a green mark on it before you get deployed because of how serious, how many serious health conditions you can get due to dental issues.
Right.
So it's like, okay, having a gum or a tooth disease is not even in the same league, let alone ballpark, as getting gender mutilation surgery and then having to go through various therapies for years on end to maintain some type of homeostasis in your body, right, to keep you healthy and to keep whatever fucking thing dilated or whatever hormones or whatever the fuck you have to do to maintain the post-op surgery status. You're not deployable. So if you're not deployable, why should you be allowed to be in the military?
Did they ever tell you the reason why dental is so such a hard topic?
The way I understood is because a lot of gum disease leads to heart disease.
Oh, that was not the excuse I was given. They were like, yeah, if you have any sort of problems and you get fragged, you basically have another device exploding in your mouth. And I was like, I don't know if that's...
Wait, what?
Yeah, so like there were people that had like cavities and whatnot. And basically they're saying like if you were involved in any sort of explosion and now you have a weak tooth that can fragment and explode in your mouth.
Can you look that up?
Okay.
I don't know how you looked that up, but
I don't know if that's just what we were all told.
Yeah,
like everybody in like my flight in basic, when we were getting out and we were in our tech schools, that was the thing that they told us. Yeah, I don't know how you
look up.
Hey, Bungo up to TV explode.
Look up. Why is dental important pre-deployment?
Because if you don't floss, you get gingivitis.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and gingivitis is the leading cause of our tooth decay,
is it wrong though?
according to Ace Ventura Pet Detector.
Yes, yeah. Look that up and see if that's a thing. But I don't know, man. I've never heard a good retort to my argument about why transgender shouldn't be in the military.
Well, and I agree with like the deployable factor is if you require any. I mean, that's why asthma was such a big thing for the longest time. Flat feet, anything that can affect posture,
right,
while downrange.
Oh, bro, if you had a previous surgery, they could deny you.
Dude, my ankle. I fucking broke my ankle in 2011, and because there's one titanium screw in there, the Air Force was like, what if you have problems? And I'm like, bitch, I can run. And they're like, yeah, but what if you got blown up and then that fucking screw goes through your buddy's eye because you have shrapnel built into your body? I was like, where are you coming up with this shit? And they're like, I don't know, we just got to think of it.
Well,
fuck you guys.
Well, that's what they were telling me when I
bacteria infections and stuff. Nothing about.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I was just fucking like an old wives' tale or whatever.
Yeah,
but when I
I
was trying to join originally, like out of high school, and this is the tail end of the the tail end of the Obama administration. It's in 2015, or 14 going into 15. my vision's always been fucked up, but they're like, yeah, they've done a ton of budget cuts. They're downsizing the military like crazy.
Yeah, getting in at the end of the Obama
Yeah.
administration was the worst mistake I've ever made.
Yeah, you can either fucking join or you can try to join. And I don't know how true this is, but what the doctor at MEPS told me is like you can either try to join, you get denied, and that gets put on your medical record, or you just go be a fucking cop somewhere. And I was like, yeah, I'm be a cop somewhere. And thank God I didn't do that. But they were super fucking anal about it. Anyway, so RFK's hearing. So that was the Pete Hegseth hearing. I watched the hearing with Bodie. She's the new attorney general. She knocked that out of the park. I only watched like an hour of it, and I was like, oh, okay, they're gonna swear her in. Like she's easy. Decorated fucking lawyer in Florida, did a ton of crazy stuff across her like 22-year career. Like she was a shoo-in. And then after Bodie, it went to, they had a couple of smaller ones. The big ones I was looking out for was Hegseth, RFK, Tulsi, Cash, Patel, and then, there's another name, but it's escaping me right now. But then they did RFK's 3 days ago, and then they did a second day of it as well. So I believe this is from the second day. And
Did you see that they already had his slander headlines already written before they even started asking a question?
It's not. I mean, they all come back. They all come. Oh, are you talking about the poster board? Are you talking about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the first day, they did bring in a poster board, and it was just a bunch of examples of why he's a piece of shit. And
or wait, are you talking about during the hearing?
yeah.
No. So this was like.
You see this dude's hair? It's I just keep staring at it.
I'm not gonna edit the video into the. I'm not gonna edit what we're watching into the video, but basically we're watching the fucking thing.
He's got a whale tail on his forehead.
It's thinning too.
He had
this whale's been fucking speared. You know,
he sectioned that and then just pushed that little bit forward and then sectioned the rest.
He was like, the hooker I'm choking tonight is gonna love this.
Right.
So this is from. Because again, I'm only about an hour and a half into day one right now. I haven't watched day two, but in day one, they're basically the big thing to take out of it was that they were throwing the stuff that happened in America Samoa against him, and he shut that down immediately. And because they're basically trying to put something like 80 something Samoan deaths from measles on RFK, and RFK was like, "Yo, there was already an outbreak when I got there, and then there weren't any deaths." There were already deaths happening by the time that I got there. And then he had like two other pieces of evidence that just aren't coming to me right now. And he was like, so how does this associate me? And they had nothing for him. And they just, same thing with Hegseth. Like they just tried slandering him, his character, calling him, again, it's the generic stuff. Like you're a conspiracy theorist, you're an anti-vaxxer. And he, in his opening statement, he's like, I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm not this, I'm not that. And they the one good question they had for him in day one was one of the women asked him, "You've said that vaccines are not safe and effective, and that if you could, you would go back and unvaccinate all your kids. So why are your kids vaccinated, and how can you say that you're pro-vaccine?" And he was like, "Well, yeah, but people have different reactions to all kinds of medicines. So how safe and effective is anything really? Like, what's your standard for that?" And then he just goes through his whole he tries to go through his spiel, but they cut him off through like all of his answers that I was watching. But he basically explains how like vaccines aren't safe and effective based on the lack of studies that go into a lot of them, based on how they affect the group of people that they're given, and the rise of diseases after vaccine and vaccine injuries. Not even talking about COVID. And then they got into the COVID vaccine, and it just became a fucking nightmare. But flash forward to day two. They bring him back in for more questions, and I believe this is from day two anyway. And Bernie Sanders starts getting into him. Because I'm sure Bernie Sanders questioned him on day one. I just didn't get to that part yet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this moment was really good. So go ahead and press play.
Is other nations. We have 85.
Oh yeah, pause real quick. So I don't know what's going on. We were trying to fix it earlier. The TV audio is really fucked up. In the last studio, I had a sound bar attached to it. I just think the speakers inside the TV are fucked, so I got to get a aux cord and just plug it into the little speaker down there. But press play.
They're underinsured. We have all kinds of chronic illnesses. Our life expectancy is lower than other countries. And for working class people in this country, they're living 6-7 years shorter lives than the top 1%. We got a problem.
Hover over the timeline real quick and see where it spikes. So I'm sure it'll show you Okay, done. Just kidding.
No.
Yeah, just kidding.
So I think
Just press the forward key. Just skip forward a little bit.
Sure. Do you agree with me that the United States should join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people as a human right? Yes? No?
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question.
Healthcare a human right. Is healthcare a human right?
In the way that free speech is a human right, I would say it's different because if with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now taking from the pool. And so, are you guaranteed the same opportunity?
I'm sorry, I'd love to talk for an hour with you. We got a few minutes left here. All right. Every other country on earth says healthcare, whether you're poor or rich, young or old, it's a human right. I'm not hearing you say that. All right, you've talked about the drug companies, and maybe we agree on this one. As you all know, despite the drug companies making over $100 billion in profits, paying CEOs outrageous compensation packages, we in some cases pay 10 times more for the same drug. Will you support legislation that I will introduce which says that in America we should not be paying a nickel more for prescription drugs than people around the rest of the world? Yes, no?
To equalize it,
Not to equalize.
Skip forward a little bit.
We should not be paying.
a week ago when we showed him the charts.
He knows the charts. I question it.
A little more.
Absurdity. Okay, that's great. All right. I happen to believe that climate change is real. It's an
All right,
existential
just keep
threat.
going.
Think judgment. It's
President Trump and I, from the beginning, it's existential.
I agree with. It's like not a trick question. I'll get questioned that abortion is a divisive issue.
Keep going. Keep going.
A woman. I think everybody on that side is pro-life. I can.
Yeah, keep going. It's not the abortion thing.
People in New Hampshire, right now, as I understand it, on their website.
All right. This might not, okay, so go out of it and go back to your search because there's one where they start talking about the amount of money that yeah, press back. Just go back to the search because
find the one with the longest.
because there's
video.
one
There wasn't much.
there's one where they start going back and forth about keep going. They're going back and forth about the amount of money that Sanders is getting. Scroll up a little bit. Scroll. Go to the shorts. Let me see if there's a short about it. No, oh, okay. No, press back. No, scroll up to the shorts.
see
Like
what you're
there.
saying,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
Okay, so, no, that's not it. That's not fucking it. There was one. Let me see if I can find it on my phone because there was one.
Regardless, talk about it because I haven't.
So
watched
basically, go ahead, Springer. I'll find it.
So basically, RFK flat out calls Bernie out and says, "You've received more money from Big Pharma than anybody else up here." And Bernie goes, "No, that was money from hard-paying workers." And he's like, "You've accepted like $1.5 million or something like that from pharma companies." And the video that I saw actually pulled up like how much Bernie had received. And it was like 1.4 million. But immediately Bernie's like defensive. Well, it turns out everybody that was on that panel had received money from big pharma companies for lobbying. And it basically just shut down the fact that what it shows is that if you're opposing RFK in Congress, you're essentially somebody who's receiving money from big pharma is the narrative that it pushed forward. And it's fucking insane. And I love it, which makes it even funnier too when you see that Bernie Sanders has collected, $1.4 million from big pharma companies, but he's pushing for the idea of a universal healthcare system because fundamentally that would lose him money.
Okay, here we go.
Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh,
And protecting their interests.
Oh, I thought that would go. No. I ran for president like you. I got millions
I know.
and millions of contributions.
They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
Because I had
receiver of
small
pharmaceutical money.
contributions from workers all over this country. Workers.
You were the
This not a nickel from corporate
Ernie,
PACs.
you were the single largest acceptor of
workers-
pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in the industry.
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right, but
Yeah, so then the question is, why did they want to give you the money?
No, the question is I would say the question is why is it when he brought up figures he immediately changes the subject. He goes because he catches himself. He goes, yeah, 1.5 out of 200 million, but it's like, okay, well, what are we talking about here?
Oh, but he was saying that it was just from, workers in the industry, but it's like, isn't that how most of the lobbying's done? Like, they don't do it straight up. Just
No, so the way they do
it.
it. So I don't, you know what? Just so we could get
It's
a
either
base.
from like talks, or it's from contributions, or
So
it's
that's different. Look up real quick what a super PAC is, so we can get an actual definition of it. Because the way I understand the way it works is that campaigns set up these super PACs, and PAC stands for Political Action Contribution or Political Action Committee or something like that. And basically what happens is my LLC, Royal, let's say I'm a fucking multi-billionaire one day,
we have to go to the right side.
and I love fucking Springer's campaign for president. So Royal Tier Productions wants to give the Elias Springer campaign, the Springer whatever campaign, fucking $100 million. But by law, I can't give you anything more than like a single person donation. I can't give you anything more than like $1,500 and some change. So what I do is my corporation donates to your super PAC, and I don't understand why that's different than like a single person doing it. It's like a weirdly veiled thing. So a super PAC or independent expenditure only political committee is a type of political action committee in the United States that can raise and spend unlimited amounts of money from individuals, corporations, and unions to influence elections, but cannot coordinate directly with candidates or political parties. They primarily engage in independent expenditures like advertisement to support or oppose political candidates. See, that just seems fishy to me.
So by that definition, we live in an oligarchy.
And the people are waking up to that now.
Yeah.
And it's been like
you
that
saw
for
my face
decades.
on my post on Facebook, right? My face on Facebook. You saw my post, right? About how taxation is not only theft, but it's a violation of the First Amendment because of, I think it was 67 or 76. There was a law that was passed that essentially said like money is a form of like free speech. It verified personhood of like corporations, and then going on later on saying that like the exchange of money is the same way of like exchange of communication, where it's a form of free speech, meaning that you can, in the United States, it's technically not illegal to buy an election, because much like campaigning, money is a form of free speech.
Right.
And so meaning that like the US has essentially been living in an oligarchy since like the 70s. Jesus, loud. Since like the 70s, we've essentially been living in an oligarchy. And then my product after that was, well, if you're going to tax me on my money, which is technically free speech, it's a First Amendment violation. Therefore, it's not only theft, but it's also unconstitutional.
You're taking away my ability to speak through cash. I mean, and we all play video games. Like, what's one of the number one? I mean, it's not too big anymore, but like it used to be one of the biggest ways to like say whether or not you enjoy a product. It's you vote with your dollar. Yeah. Like if you don't like what this video game company is making, you just don't buy the video game. And hopefully, don't do it again. Right. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. Personally, if I was president, one of the first things I would do, just right off the bat, just on principle, is I would, if you are under the age of 18 and you're working, you don't get taxed. Because if you're under the age of 18, it means you can't vote. Therefore, there are things happening in this country. We're supposed to be able to decide tax codes, right? We're supposed to be able to decide how taxes work in this country. We obviously don't, but we're supposed to decide on that. And if you can't decide on how taxes work in this country, yet taxes are still being taken away from you, that's taxation without representation.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you see that the IRS outright said that paying your taxes is voluntary?
Wait, what?
Yeah, so
Please fact check that. I don't
there-
believe that for a second.
there was like a Senate hearing, and I think it was like the head of the IRS, or like they questioned him on it, and they said, "Oh yeah, what makes our revenue service so good is it's voluntary." And then they kind of like paused for a second, and then they went to go like clarify. And you know, like that Instagram page, like the typical liberal and stuff like that, they started just going off and running with that. And I was like, if this is truly the full gist of what they're saying, that taxation is voluntary, that means it in by product, it should not be illegal to not pay your taxes, considering that it is voluntary.
Tell Wesley Snipes that.
Oh, you have to voluntarily comply with the tax code.
Okay, so this is from. Wait, scroll up. I want to see the headline. Okay, what does it mean that taxes are voluntary? This is from TurboTax, not a biased source at all.
The largest lobbying organization
about whether or not you
in
should
Congress
pay
for taxes.
Not even that, just whether or not you should pay your taxes you gain it from a tax revenue company.
Have you heard like why they spend so, or why it's free? Is they lobby stupid hard in Congress, and basically the kickbacks go to Congress, and they undercut you on your tax returns because they don't file certain paperwork properly when you pay for the free service.
Wait, back up.
Okay, so if you go to TurboTax, right, and you say I'm going to file my taxes, and you're doing the free one, they don't necessarily fill everything out appropriately to get you your full refund. So let's say you're owed $1,000 if it was done right. They won't fill everything 100% out to the point where you only get $800, right? And then that $200 gets kicked back to their lobbying organization, which in turn works its way back into Congress.
All in the name of convenience. Because I fucking hate doing my taxes. I just go through TurboTax.
Yep. Dude, ever since
Bro,
I actually got
got my W-2s yet.
I haven't either.
I've gotten 2 of mine from like the 3 jobs I've worked in the past year.
Yeah, I haven't gotten mine. I've been at one place. This is the first year in 8 or 9
law, they have to do it by like the 31st, right? By today.
Right, I think so. But yeah,
Dang, I'm reporting them to the IRS.
yeah, this is the first year I think in 8 or 9 years where I've been only at one employer for the whole year. Feels good. But I'm a fucking W-2s, so I ain't gonna fuck myself, I guess. Speaking about fucking taxes, this has been like, look.
Read this before you get off into a tangent.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Let's
Okay,
see
so
what it means.
yeah, so voluntary taxation. The nature of the voluntary tax system in the U.S. It takes the calculation of taxes owed out of the hands of the federal government. You're responsible as an individual taxpayer to calculate what you owe. You're expected to voluntarily comply. Okay, that's an oxymoron on its own. You're expected to voluntarily comply. Okay, with the tax code by reporting what you owe to the government and paying the entire amount that you owe under the law. TurboTax makes this easier, blah, 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 blah. Okay, go down. Mandatory law. The IRC, the Internal Revenue Code, is the law of the land when it comes to determining your tax liability. While you may be able to take a deduction here or there that's in a gray area, you may be able to argue that you have complied with all applicable tax laws. The taxes that you are legally required to pay are outlined in the IRC. You can find the IRC via the IRS website, which will direct you to the Cornell. Okay. Again, you're not expected to become a tax expert. Okay. Basically, what it sounds like is I find Springer in a dark alley and I'm saying, hey, I have a gun to you. You are expected to voluntarily give me your wallet.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Because if you don't pay your taxes,
to voluntarily like figure out how much you owe, pay it, do all that voluntary. If not, then that's when they come back and be like, oh, now you owe back taxes. We did it for you. This is what you have.
Right, but it's not voluntary because the existence of back taxes proposes the idea that it's not voluntary.
Right.
Because
So
again, if you don't pay
the
your taxes,
voluntary part is just that you should voluntarily do it all before the government steps in.
Well, so here's the verbal judo that you can use to defend this, right? If I told you, hey, murder's illegal, you're expected to voluntarily comply, you'd be like, why did you have to add voluntarily? Why'd
you have to add comply?
Yeah.
Right, but so the judo that you can use to work your way around this one is essentially saying like, oh, it's the same way like murder. You comply with not killing people voluntarily, and you're expected to do so because it's the law, and you're just like,
well, yeah, at the threat but it's at the threat of violence. If you don't pay your taxes and you hold off long enough, eventually they will send men with guns to find you and bring you to, well, first of all, bring you to a fucking booking center. They'll put you into jail and bring you in court. At the threat of
Yeah,
force, you
I
have to
think
pay
that's
your
what it is.
taxes.
It's just voluntary to do the steps of figuring out how much you owe, figuring out this, and voluntarily comply with it. And then if not, if you don't voluntarily do all that legwork, then the men with guns show up.
It's just because I
But you
know,
got to voluntarily do all the legwork for them.
which is so fucking stupid. It's so fucking like. Look,
Well,
I
so,
don't
like-
trust the government as it is, but they should. Right? This is the way it's always worked in my head. In theory, if I have to pay the taxes anyway,
Bro,
just
taxes-
fucking tell me how much I owe, and just take it
Like,
out
dude,
anyway.
Like, that's not even the craziest part of taxes. One, taxing on overtime is insane because now you're just getting more.
Didn't
Bitch,
Trump-
where were you for 46 hours?
Didn't Trump?
Yeah, supposedly.
It's what he's proposing.
Yeah. But
Where
anyway,
is that?
I don't know.
I know.
Hopefully soon.
I get it. He's only been in office for like
But-
6 days.
yeah.
I get it. There's a lot of things the only thing I'm really upset about that he promised on the campaign trail that he hasn't even spoken about yet. The one thing I am genuinely upset about is the Ukraine war. There's been nothing about Ukraine in the last 6 days, and he was swearing up and down 24 hours that it's done. Where the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I
I
get
get.
just shut down a bunch.
Okay,
of
I was
money
gonna say
yeah.
they stopped the funding and they stopped. There was going to be like a last like Biden package that was
Like
going out.
$50 billion or some shit like that.
That was relatively small, but still a lot of money that they were stopping, and then they also stopped the creation of missiles somewhere in Europe, where they're creating missiles for the Ukraine war that we were funding. They had stopped that, but like that doesn't mean you're stopping a war. That just
Yeah,
means
but
you're
again,
stopping a
homie's
single
been in
side.
A week and a half.
I get, but
Still
he was
trying to get his cabinet.
But he was
and-
still
He did brag about day
24
one.
hours.
Oh, it's like stopping it in 24
Yeah,
hours.
he said 24
Yeah,
hours.
he did brag
over
about that.
and
Like day
over.
one, the war was going to be over.
Yeah, over and over.
Yeah,
He
you
said
can also
that.
take it as what's the term used when
No, I
you use
know-
over exaggerating language.
no, yeah, but
but
he-
in reality you kind
No,
of
he was being over. He's a exaggerated person.
it's like saying I'm gonna go drive home at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
No,
like,
but he okay. But there's a difference between saying that and saying it every major rally.
Yeah.
The war will be over, and in interviews,
Mm-hmm.
and in town halls, and in debates, and I'm sure in his personal diary too.
Yeah.
That in 24 hours the Ukraine war will be over. That is the one thing where I'm like, hey motherfucker, where is this? That is the one thing I'm kind of upset about. But
Get back to taxes though.
so yeah, taxes. So I got my first bonus of the year from Q4 of last year, and it's the biggest bonus I've ever gotten. It's not a ton of money, but it's $1,600 was my bonus. Out of that $1,600,
The
I
tax
lost
bonus is heavy.
I lost $580 of that.
Bro.
And I'm just over here like,
Bro, you should see my checks of how much
yo.
they'll take
But then
out.
what really
It's
pisses me off,
disgusting.
other than losing that money, what pisses me off about it is that this is money that I'm getting in 2025. So in 2026, when I do the taxes for this year, it's going to say that I earned the entire 1,600 when they took, I did the math last night, they took a little over 31% of it.
Well, so
Well,
and
hold up, because that's like so. Like my company, like halfway through, they had us like technically they would like lower your pay to a certain amount, and then they would make it up on the back end with like quarterly bonuses, right? And they were doing that forever. Halfway through the year, they switched it. They took away the bonuses, so they just bumped everyone's pay. So it looked like you got a raise. But what that ended up doing is putting everybody into a different tax bracket, not technically making any more money.
same.
And then just
So-
got taxed so much heavier.
so when I was talking with
Make less money now doing nothing.
yeah.
because the guy that does my taxes, he used to be a firefighter with my dad, and so then also like he still works in EMS, and we've kind of had that bonding between like EMS as a whole, right? So him and I will sit and like talk for a while we're doing it, and he said that it sucks because I was like, hey dude, I got taxed stupid hard because I was supposed to get like a $7,500 bonus for my sign on as a paramedic. And then on top of my paycheck, which I had worked like 96 hours that week, I was like, this is going to be fat. The total amount before taxes was something like almost near like $11,000 to $12,000 to include the bonus and all the time that I had worked. So,
On capital gains taxes, he said he was gonna get rid of that, huh?
He's not getting rid of that.
dog, I walked
He has
out
to, though.
I walked out with that paycheck with a total check of like $6,200. And I was like,
the fit that I would throw.
no, I was seriously like on the verge of tears. And he goes, so what happened is the IRS saw that money come through because they lump summed your cash, rather than doing what some companies do where they just pay you out like an extra dividend so it doesn't fuck you over. He goes, they lump summed your cash. So the IRS viewed it that for a 2-week period, you were making $12,000 and they predicted that was going to be your
So
linear
your company fucked you.
Yeah, they predicted that was going to be your linear growth throughout the year. So they were like, you were already making $140,000 in the IRS's eyes, and they taxed you in that bracket for that one check. And I was like, what the fuck? I almost lost.
So
it, dude.
that's why the light bulb moment. So that's why I get a separate check for bonuses,
Yes.
and they're not. Damn, dude, you got fucked.
'Cause
I
it's
got
the exact same thing.
You
happened
didn't
to
even
me.
get your bonus.
Pretty much, no.
So it's either you got that bonus and you got your bonus, taxed a tiny bit, and you worked for free.
That bonus
or
basically paid my taxes in a rim job. That's it.
Yeah.
Like I got my ass ate for that bonus.
Yeah,
That's
no,
it.
it's the exact same. Like I said, when they switched us from like the bonuses, like how you do it, and they just lumped all that in, which bumped the hourly rate by a few bucks, put it into a different tax bracket. I did nothing. I made the same amount of money. At the end of the year, they either way it would have equaled out, and somehow now I make less money doing nothing. Didn't make any more. Just made less money.
If you want more, go ahead.
Quite literally, just due to language.
Yeah, dude. That's how stupid tax code is, because he was like,
No, that's how stupid you're. It's stupid. That tax code is stupid. Yes, correct. But your company's also stupid. And I would have.
well, and so like he broke it down essentially, like he's like, every year the IRS comes out with like this new giant book that we all have to read through. And he's like, just imagine a thick binder that comes through. He's like, I have to burn through the entire thing before I can even start doing your taxes, because they change something every fucking year. And then so he's like, now I got to know, what I'm doing. He's like, for the most part, for like your average run of the mill taxes, it doesn't really mess up a whole lot. He goes, but every now and then you have somebody that goes, remember that dude on Instagram that we paid? Mm-hmm. Like to do our taxes?
Dude, I was so over it. I was like, yo, this guy seems dope. Let's try it.
Yeah, dude. Got a fat return from him.
Oh, okay. Well, send me his pay. I was gonna talk shit, but send me his pay.
No, he ghosted he did it like the one time you got paid, and then after that dipped out. Well, so I had talked to him about it, and he's like, technically he did nothing illegal. He's like,
You have to start off the conversation with that.
yeah, he was like, because he ran through, he was like, I don't know how you got back this much money, but
I checked it with the new binder, and I think it looks fine to me.
no, dude, for real. He was like, you did nothing illegal. He goes, because you were tattooing at the time, and you were like doing a cash business. He's like, that's how you got around. And I was like, bro, I made like $120. He goes, but the cost of equipment is what saved your ass in all of this.
Yeah, they all rest of them do it. We should start.
Well, that's the whole reason why I have an LLC is so I didn't. I'm an idiot. I need to start doing QuickBooks now, because I made purchases last year, but I don't know. I know a few of them that I'm going to claim. But that's why I have an LLC for this, is because every time that I buy equipment, or every time, granted, I can't claim the light because I don't have a receipt for it. But like every time that I do or buy equipment, or every time that I run ads, I haven't ran ads in a while, but like whenever I do start running ads again, and I want to bring this up too, just real quick. There's an extra fee. So Meta added a new thing to their ad services where, so I was going to run an ad on that little teaser that I put out with with just the abbreviated logo and the music. And I was going to run an ad on that. I was going to do $50 for 6 days. It was a little quick one. Whatever, get it a couple extra thousand eyes on it.
Yeah.
It was going to cost me $50. Well, like 53 whatever with taxes on it, right? But then Meta, they added this new thing in their policy where it's like you do that, and then a percentage of it, they take a percentage out of that and add it on it as a Meta service fee. So it was going to come out to like $73 for a 6-day ad that was only going to give me an extra like 5,000 views. And I was just like, no, I'm not paying $70 for that. You can go fuck yourself. I'm cool with like $2 and some change of taxes, $3 or whatever, but 20 extra bucks, that's a whole extra, that should be an extra 3,000 views. But I'm
It's
just
like when
paying.
DoorDash hits you with that free delivery, but $4
I'm just
service
saying,
charge.
Yeah, it's like I'm just saying thank you. Thank you for existing, Meta. Thank you.
And like the thing with DoorDash that I can at least like remotely respect is like, okay, I paid for the
I
food.
bought one burrito was $17 the other night.
Well,
From
and like I
where?
said,
Taco Cabana, it's an addiction.
that's fair.
You paid no. Wait.
No.
You paid.
That's fair.
Wait, you paid.
Have you ever had a number 19?
Yeah, not for
Porrito
17.
Altimol.
Just not for $17.
Just wait until you get 3 barbacoa burritos in you.
Get in your
yeah,
fucking
when you
truck
order
and
it.
get it yourself.
I was playing Marvel Rivals.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is, so I can understand the $17 because it's a convenience deal
But
itself.
you know what the thing was? I was like, oh, that's not bad. I thought I ordered 2. I only ordered 1, and then I was pissed. I was like, this burrito's $6 normally.
Oh, dude, like the other
Yes!
day, I
You paid
ordered
$11 to sit on your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you cool with that? Because if you're cool with that, that's one thing. I'm not cool with that. But if you're cool with that,
Once in a blue moon. Honestly, okay, this is the way
but
it
you
worked out.
DoorDash every day.
No, I don't.
I think.
No, I'm done with that, dude.
Okay, you're done with it.
I
was a
turned
different
It's
day,
been
man.
a year. It's been a
I
year.
turned super.
We haven't lived together in a year, so that's fair.
Yes. Yeah, like yeah, no, dude, I'm like. Well, remember, I was trying to buy a house for the longest time, and I was trying to get in one by January, so I was just.
So it's not Jewy
I was
enough. Couldn't get a
saving.
house.
No, couldn't get a house. I tried. Put in some.
Did you get
offers.
outbid?
Huh?
Did you get outbid?
Not even just outbid, just like how fast. Because you'd figure, right? Like you would have maybe.
Bring that mic up a little bit.
He put in an offer, and they're like,
Goyim, you can't get this. Oy vey, Goyim, you can't get this house.
No, it's like you have to figure that like you put in for a house, but somebody has already tried 3 separate times to put in for a house. So they were throwing out to like 3 or 4 separate houses. So you would end up getting these huge laundry lists. Like there was this awesome house that I would have tried buying in a heartbeat, and I jumped on it as fast as humanly possible. I was 10th in line.
you were just competing with the state of California once their insurance ran out.
Literally. I was like, I don't understand how because I understand how hard it is to save that much money for a down payment, and not everybody can. So it's like if you work that hard, do that much extra, and then you finally have it, you're like, sick, I can finally get a house. And then that bullshit goes down.
Buy a house.
Yeah.
Dude, props to you. I mean, I tried saving money, and then Legos came along, and I was like,
Dude, that was one of the things I had to cut out. I was going to get Legos every single paycheck.
Yeah, I can't talk shit about
would
buying stuff. I would
stop at the Walmart and like me and a coworker, and we'd be like, that one, and I would walk out every single
fuck a house.
and then I was like,
Well, because no, I've come to that.
stop. I had to stop, and now I'm like my new addiction's tools. So like,
Well, because now I've gotten to the point where it's like I've accepted that I'm not going to buy a house for a very long time, if ever. And at this point, it's like, you know what? I have places to live. That's great. I'm just going to buy things that make me happy. Sorry, maybe that's immature, but fucking, I just want to be happy. I just want to exist and be happy.
Dude, I'm about there too. I'm like, you know
And
what?
I've- and
That
I've
new
got
M3 looks pretty sick.
Well, because when I was trying to buy a
just saying commune.
This is also true.
This is
Well, that
also
land up
true.
in Colorado you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I was trying to buy a house I guess 4 years ago now.
Yeah, that's when you should have done it.
I was trying to buy a house. Well, dude, what happened was I
know what it is.
I found 3 properties where
they're
I was
talking
like,
about the
yeah,
condo.
I can do it. No, I didn't buy the condo because my mom's a fucking Jew and literally fucking raised the price on me like a fucking bitch. Yeah, no, that's what happened. That's what happened.
Shout out Noah's mom.
Yeah, no, fuck. It's so stupid. Anyway, so what had happened is I found I found 2 houses that I wanted to buy. I found a house and I found a condo. And the first house I really wanted to buy, it was by the Windrock Theater. And dude, it was a nice 1,800 square foot house. It was 2 bedroom, 2 bath, but it had this separate back area that couldn't be designated as a room because it didn't have a closet or some shit.
yeah.
It didn't have a window. It had
Oh, that's how I was gonna get that sick house too.
it had
another room, but it didn't have a closet.
It had it was basically a window, but they couldn't technically call it a window, so
It's probably a closet. If it doesn't have a closet, it can't be a bedroom.
No, but it had a maybe it was a closet. I don't know. Anyway, so it was a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, and it had in the back of the house, it had this was built in the 60s, and they had updated the rest of the house to maybe the mid 90s, but they left this one area as an original 1960s bar parlor.
Oh,
it had
that would have been so
yes,
cool.
it had original red felt shag carpeting. It had a full
Stroke the furry rug.
yeah. Yes. Dude, it had a full bar setup. It had a back bar area, it had a bar. It was gorgeous. And I walked in and I was like,
Then I could have done my lifelong dream of sitting at the end of the bar table, put my hand out, and you could just slide a whiskey all the way across.
We could have. That could have been
done
the
it.
whole
Coulda done
podcast.
it.
It's just 3 hours of me sliding him a beer.
Just us at one bar table.
No, I'm really
Yeah.
drunk. Can we stop now?
Well, so I was like,
Just cameras at different locations while we walk up and down.
So I was like, oh, this is the podcast studio. Like this, I want this fucking house. I got outbid on that property by like 45 or 50,000, and then I found another condo. I found a condo that was off of like Tramway and like Wyoming or some shit. I don't know. And I got outbid on that one by 30,000. And the ironic part of it too is my realtor didn't get told like what it was outbid by, or was like, because they can't tell you who did it,
Right.
but they can tell you if it was like an individual buyer or a corporation or whatever. And she didn't even know that. So then flash forward to when we were all moving out of the house and I was looking at these places for me and Joey. I found this condo that I really liked, and I was like, "Oh, this would be nice." It's a little tiny, but
Same fucking one.
dude, I walk in and I'm like, "I've been here before. Did I party here?" Oh, I tried to buy this house, but no, this fucking rental company bought it. I do a little back researching about like 2 a.m. and I'm like, going down a rabbit hole about this, where this company's owned, who, whatever. BlackRock. BlackRock.
I thought you were going to say China.
No, BlackRock, dude. And I'm like, oh, great. Fucking phenomenal. That's why I can't buy a home, because a fucking multi-billion-dollar company
Said, fuck you.
said, fuck you, little Mexican with your VA loan. Go fuck yourself. You think you can get in here without a home, without a down payment? Fuck you. And that's what happened. So now I'm here.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
like
honestly
that.
like why I've turned so much to just being like, fuck it, buy land, get a trailer, and just fucking pull up there and then just build little by little.
Yep, build at
Because
your
when
own
I was
leisure.
in Jamaica, dude, the houses there were nice.
Okay, but also it's Jamaica.
Hold up. No, that's a third world country, dog.
Exactly. It's a third world country.
And all the houses were nice.
Yeah.
Not like we went to like the broke area. And I was like, dude,
Yeah,
these
but they just get the land and then
Well, and
slowly they'll.
and that's what I told him was I was like, dude, these houses are
so they do in
awesome.
Mexico too.
Yeah, I was like, these houses are awesome. And he goes, no, this is the broke area. And I was like, I was like, you want to come to New Mexico and see what the broke area looks
Yeah,
like?
but also
this
look,
place is
and look, maybe
gorgeous.
Maybe it's fucking American and like Western brainwashing that's still in me, but I don't want to live anywhere that's not America.
Oh no, that's 100%. He's just saying that the
just-
ability.
But so
there.
like, I was like, well, how do these people? Because they're all like 2-story houses, just kind of. I don't want to say like badass because probably the inside obviously didn't have all the amenities. Like you probably maybe had a shit in a Home Depot bucket for a little
Yeah, I was
longer
gonna
than
say,
you
is there a
intended.
my whole thing is indoor plumbing. You guys know that.
Yeah.
My whole thing is indoor plumbing. Is there indoor plumbing?
No, I get that. But like the external of the houses were like really fucking sick. And he was like, yeah, so these guys who basically sell apples and everything on the side of the road, he's like, they own these houses. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
You're like, yeah, I've got 2 nickels right here. Like,
Yeah, like,
What can I buy?
like thinking about just
What
in
will
the
this
U.S.
$20 bill get me?
Thinking about the U.S. about like the paleta man, you're just like he doesn't own that house, and he was like, yeah, essentially they have the area, they just build brick by brick all the way up, and that's just what they do. He's like, because it's a tropical area, they can afford to just live out here in a tent for a little bit, not really lose anything, and they just do concrete and cinder block.
yeah, I
all the
can't
way
live
through.
in a tent. If you can't tell, I can't live in a tent.
You already look like you do.
I know I do, but listen.
And like
All right.
I saw this one Instagram post where it was like the chick, she's like, I moved out here because I didn't want to live like in a community, and it looked like, I don't want to say mountainous because it definitely looked back east, but like a little hilly country and stuff like that. And all of a sudden she just videos out and there was just a whole like community like being built across, and she's like already on like 3 or 4 acres,
Where's
like
this
which
at?
would have been, I'm guessing back east somewhere, just what it looked like.
Oh, but it's in America.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
100%.
okay.
But I was just like, damn, that means like even if you kind of went like, I'm going to go buy land, 20, 30 minutes outside of town to where, yeah, the commute would be longer, but I can still commute, to go to work.
Right.
and make the money for it. It's like, dude, in 5 years, you're going to be in a community yet again.
Yeah, and that's
Like,
yeah.
you got to go live in the mountains, which I'll do. I'll
Well,
go hide away in
so-
the mountains, but then it's like how to make money, how
Like
to,
you've
like,
flown out
screw.
of Dallas Fort Worth, right?
Yeah, I have.
I think so.
So that's one of the the first time I ever flew out of Dallas was when I hit the realization that no matter how far you live away from the city will find you.
100%.
Because just even leaving, you're seeing like just how all these little probably what somebody originally owned is just their own plot of land eventually turned into a suburban area, and then just the continuous progression out. I was like, there's no fucking way of avoiding it unless you go and live in a place that has no chance of growth.
Yeah, no, you'd have to go up into the mountains to where, you can't put a community
Like
there.
Las Vegas, New Mexico, not a shot of growth. So if you want to be a fucking hermit and avoid anything, you do have to go out there.
The only reason I push back on that a little bit, this is all hypothetical. Again, all hypothetical. But the only reason a place like that grows. No, that doesn't make any sense. Never mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
But, I mean, look at Los Lunas. All it takes is one corporation to come in.
Oh, you mean what do you mean? You mean one of the biggest nuclear development facilities on the planet? What are you talking about?
social
Well, I'm
media,
saying-
dog.
I'm just saying, like,
I mean,
Los
oh,
Lunas before.
Oh,
Amazon
I'm
and
sorry.
before
You
Facebook.
said Los Lunas, and my brain said Los Alamos.
Oh,
Never mind.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
Never
dude,
mind.
So
Facebook
that's what I'm
just had
saying,
to
like-
work its way into Los Lunas, and then
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah.
And then boom, and then Amazon.
I can't
hit
drive
there,
to my fucking grandma's house without having to sit through 3 hours of traffic
and
on 47.
They threw up 2 communities immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Sold them all, and they're throwing up 2 more.
But
right
on the
now.
one
They're gonna
hand,
sell
though,
them all.
I gotta be honest. Like on the other hand, I'm a big supporter of that.
No, 100%.
I don't disagree with
Grow
you.
the GDP,
but I'm
get
saying
people off the
100% a good
streets.
thing. But if the idea we were on the idea of wanting to buy land and get out, it's like if you want to do it, the land that you would need to, ensure that would never happen to you, no matter how many years, give it to your kids, whatever the case is, you're gonna have to go buy in the mountains, and then those are $1 million.
Yeah, you got to go to a
plots.
place that has no chance of somebody wanting to go out there.
And-
Because, like, if you go up to, like, up where we hunt, there's not a shot that anything works its way out there, mainly because, one, just access. Not a lot of people want to fucking even work
And
there.
not a
Well,
big
how
enough
much of that?
footprint
My
to
question about
build.
all that kind of land is how much of that is privately owned, and how much of that is because remember
lot of it's privately owned.
Well, but remember in 2000 when I had Jay Block on in like 2022,
Yeah.
2021, where he was talking about the governor's 3D plan or whatever for the
I don't
land.
remember exactly what it is.
So
but-
it was look up New Mexico government land purchase like 3D or something like that, and
how did you do it that way?
and it's just set up like that.
Yeah, I don't like it.
So and basically what it was is the government again. It's
Was
thinly.
it New Mexico 3D land?
It look up New Mexico government land purchase 3D. I think it was 3. It's like 3D or 3E, something like that. But basically, what it was, it's a thinly veiled bullshit plan for government land grabs. Or basically, what it is that the government is buying land, and the reason they're doing it is they're arguing that because this is what government does, is that your stuff is in better hands with us,
Oh, yeah.
and we're going to protect the land so that nobody can come in and buy it and ruin it. Which, when has that ever fucking worked out ever? But. I'm curious about that. Where we went out and camped, where you guys want to go out and hunt. It's like how much of that is privately owned, and then how much of that got bought up in the land grab, and how much of that is going to eventually get owned by the government.
And I cannot remember where in New Mexico it is, but something similar happened. And, for years people were out. I mean, there's Forest Service roads cut through it already. There was camping. Everybody was driving it. And all they had to do was just, this is a wilderness now. You can only walk in or horse.
Yeah.
And that just keeps everybody out pretty much. Because what are you going to do? Go walk.
And you do need that. But I'm in support of that. Like, you do need that.
I mean,
of
in
just
certain
leaving
areas,
like
certain
leave
things.
leave
here's-
nature untouched. And if people want to, like we did, where we want to go out there and camp, where people have made encampments, and you go shit in a fucking hole and all of that. If you want to go do that, go do that. You still need that. Not everything
Yeah,
needs
but
to
the
get.
land is still the people's either way. And yeah, you do need that in some areas for certain instances, for certain reasons, for certain land. Also tribal land, yes, you do. But at the same time, if it's that easy, you could just quite literally cut all the land
Scroll down a little bit,
and have full control over it.
I don't know if this is the right one.
This is like the only thing that came up.
Oh, okay.
So here's the way I see it. Declaring something a wilderness area maybe works in somewhere like California where population's an issue. But like in New Mexico, where we went up, the amount of private landowners out there, are pretty high. I would say there's a decent amount of like land areas like cattle ranchers and stuff. But the square mileage that we are able to hunt without running into anyone else is pretty impressive. And in most states, you can get far enough away so like my cousin lives in North Carolina.
Well, hold on, let me just say real quick, because like the reason I brought it up was because the reasoning isn't like, this land is home to calving for elk or deer, and that's why we turn it into a wilderness or has protected waters. That's a different thing. They do it out of convenience and easiness, so they don't have to manage the damn thing. Keep the people out. You don't have to manage it. You don't need Forest Service in it. You don't need anything else in it. You don't need motor vehicle. Half the time they'll go and close down these roads because they don't want to manage it or they don't want to drive these damn roads. So they claim that it's for erosion, and then they'll go and dig an 8-foot hole for a Jeep trap every quarter mile to keep vehicles out. And it's like,
wait, is that a real thing?
Yeah, they're called Jeep traps. Yeah,
No shit. I've never heard of that.
It's basically a hole that
they'll just dig
even
a
if you had a
massive hole.
sick froter, you couldn't get out.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much, it's just
need-
four-wheelers and dirt bikes, no problem, right? But
well,
you ain't getting
full-size
a truck through it.
vehicles,
Nah.
you need to get pulled out. No shit.
No, you won't make it over. Because what they do is they dig out like a 6 to 8 foot hole.
Oh, so you don't even try.
Yeah, well, what they do is they dig out the hole. The hole's not the problem. Is that all the dirt that came out of the hole, they put it in front of the hole, and it's a massive sharp mound. So you'll just get
right.
So if you're
Dirt
on an
bikes-
ATV or a dirt bike, you can get
it's
through.
not a problem. But the thing is like they do it in the name of we shut down this road due to erosion because wheeled vehicles will erode. Which, I mean, if I had to compare a dirt bike erosion to like horse erosion, I would say horse is like 30 times as worse. But I digress. I'm not a scientist. But what I say is that's what the claim is. But then they'll go and take machinery into it, dig out these 8 to 10 foot holes, make huge mounds across the road every quarter mile, and like that doesn't cause erosion. You literally just dug out half this mountain to do it and displaced a
Just for
bunch of soil.
clarification, this is all on state-owned land or private-owned land?
No, it's state owned.
Okay, so state-owned land.
But it's so they don't have to manage it. They don't
Right.
have to check it. They don't have to drive it. They don't have to do anything.
So is this
they
a-
shut the public out from it?
in your opinion, is this a good or a bad thing?
It's a horrible thing.
Okay.
So here's the thing.
If it's BLM, Borough Land Management, and it's public land, that is the key word, public. If it's public, you should be able to use it as public. It's not like people are going in and cutting roads in, but for themselves.
So
the
it's
roads
pu-
they're already in for Forest
it's
Service,
public.
fire.
It's public land that they're cutting off public access to.
Right. I mean, your taxes pay for that land to be managed. Your taxes pay for those roads to be cut in case of forest fires or in case of land management, all that stuff. And then they'll just start sectioning off certain areas, claim it in the name of erosion, or
And it's much like,
traffic.
and so
then they'll go and just screw up the whole road
because they're
completely to
technically
keep people
not
out.
denying you access.
right.
Because
So my
it's
brain,
you can walk
my
in.
brain
Because you
was
can walk
going
in.
exactly to that tax thing where it's like you are expected to voluntarily comply with the tax code. In the same way with this, it's like yes, you do have access to it.
Yeah, if you
but
wanna
you got
walk in.
but you got to walk. You can't take your vehicle.
But the places to get to are still like 6-7 miles on like a light trail, depending on and like
Well, that's the thing. They're just big loops, so they'll just cut off sections.
Is there
of
an
that loop.
argument? Is there an argument that the reason they're doing this is so that there aren't more people going into it that potentially ruin the land with?
so the
vehicles
Valles Caldera is a
and-
good example.
Yeah, but that's a wilderness.
I'm just
Right, but
trying to play
I'm
devil's
saying-
advocate. You know
so,
what I mean?
So the Valles Caldera is a good example. There's a loop that's like a backpacking loop. If you wanted to overnight camp, you can in some areas, and you can work your way through. But the reason why is they regulate heavily. Like you have to pay to get in. There's an amount on like how many people can be in at any given point.
Well, you have to pay to get into public land.
No, that's
It's a-
protected. That's protected.
It's I just said the word and now I forgot
Wilderness
it.
area?
Yeah, it's a wilderness area. It's like almost like how you would like have to pay into like a state park or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but they regulate how
It's public
how many
adjacent.
people can go through. And when I went there for like, I'm just gonna call it Columbus Day. When I went in there for Columbus Day,
What? There's no other name for it. You
something-
mean Winners Day? You mean the Super Bowl of America?
okay. Anyways, so basically it's because people litter like a motherfucker. They dirty up the area, so that's why they want to regulate who's walking in. So what they're doing by forcing a walk-in is the logic is people who litter and who are dirty and just ruin the area around them
Yeah.
don't want to walk in there.
Right, so that's the
So-
point I was bringing. So, like, for instance, like, if I were to, like, so the thing about, like, jackasses like me, where my fucking truck is still leaking power steering fluid, and I'm leaking that shit all over the environment, they probably don't want that. Is that the argument?
No,
And, like,
no.
It's erosion. Tires, they I mean, you've been on the dirt road.
Yeah,
that's the argument. That's the only
It's
argument.
a small example. But just
that's
human.
it's a non-issue.
Human destruction.
Well, even
Well,
I mean,
so
it's against
listen,
the law.
listen
isn't
to it like this.
Is destruction of dude? You know how much you can get fined for cutting down a tree?
Well, okay,
So it's already
That was,
illegal.
that was the wrong terminology. Not destruction, like human. I don't know.
There's nothing for it.
That's what I'm
because
saying.
here's the
like,
thing.
there is no devil's advocate other than they don't want to manage it, so they cut it off from the public.
Right.
Okay.
Under the
Because-
name of we're trying to protect it, but it's like manage it.
So
That's
you've
what we
never
pay
been-
you to do.
Now, can they not manage it due to lack of manpower, lack of resources?
That can be an excuse, but here's
Maybe, but then that's on the fault of the state for not funding it
Mismanagement.
right, and
Are
mismanaging.
so-
you saying that New Mexico is
Yeah.
mismanaged?
No, never.
Hey,
So-
wait a minute.
So you've never been up to Unit 53, but when we went there, 2019 to go hunt,
Yeah, something like that.
they had so much down wood. We were sitting there, we're like, if a fucking spark remotely thinks about landing in this area, this whole place is gone. So much down
And
wood.
that area is so steep that it does take a lot to
Right.
manage. Like 51, 52. I mean, like again, I still think New Mexico does some of the best to manage forests. I think they have some of the best looking
something like
forests.
that is-
But what I'm saying is that's not the issue. My issue is why are you going to cut off public land from things that are already there, that have been there for generations, and then just destroy it more?
Well, I was
'cause you
gonna
say
say-
that you
well,
don't
that's
want
what
it to
I'm
be
getting
destroyed.
at.
But I was
is-
going to say that if the land is tough to manage, is the burden of that not on the government department that has to manage it? Like,
So
like
that's the caveat to
Figure
it,
it
right?
out.
Is so 53 is stupid steep. Like walking up a hill feels like 6 miles, and you're like, we only
easier
linearly
to climb a
move like
ladder.
100 feet. You're like, fuck
Okay.
this.
I was the elevation, just out of curiosity.
53.
So it's average in New Mexico.
I don't know about the average. I would
Oh,
say
no,
the
no, no.
highest
It's-
point of 53 is probably like 13,000 feet.
Oh, at least at 5,300. Okay, sorry.
No,
so,
Unit
so
53.
13,000.
Yeah, it's
okay.
a hunting
I
unit.
mean,
Okay, that's
it's close
fucking,
to Willer.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
That's tough.
Yeah,
you can
it's
see
it's like
Willer from
11,000 feet.
Yeah, that's
I
tough.
think at
Okay.
like
No, it's taller
a
than
good
that because
point.
51 is like 12 at the highest.
Anyways.
So I have this really cool Garmin watch, and it tells me.
Yeah, I just use how hard it is to breathe when I get to certain places. I'm like, fuck, this is high. Like when I hiked to the top of Wheeler, I sat there and I was like, I'm gonna roll down the rest of this.
It's like
walking back down.
Like in 51 where we camp is like 10.
I'm gonna
and
put
then
on
when
a-
we hike up is close to like
I'm going to put on a
11.5, something
thick
like that.
jacket and a helmet and just go.
No, dude, for real. Like when I hiked Wheeler Peak, I was feeling good for like maybe the first mile, and then the last
'Cause
like
how tall's Willer? 15?
13.
13?
It's the highest point in New Mexico. I think it's like 13.5 or something.
Where's
like
that located at?
Taos.
Okay.
It's like
You,
by there.
it's like literally right next to the ski valley.
Oh, okay. Have you gone and skied up in the Taos Ski Valley lately?
Not lately,
I know
but
you
I mean, I
ski a
grew
lot,
up there.
Oh, I was
that
gonna say,
was
'cause-
my home ski.
Have they built that up completely now? Like with
That's
all-
built
little-
up. That's the reason I also haven't got it. Is they kind of priced all the locals out.
Well, because I just asked.
Like I'm
Well,
on
I just-
House's website, like not website, but Instagram, and all the comments and stuff like that are like, man, because they just got hit heavy with snow. They're like, I can't wait to be there. I'll be there next week. And I was like, what do you mean you'll be here next week? Like,
Well, I just
there's
asked-
so many people coming in.
Well,
and
I
they
just
priced
asked
this
because
out.
when I was working, like when I got back from Africa, I was working at that fucking that carpeting company, the flooring company,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to make deliveries up there because they're doing some construction when they were building up the Taos Ski Valley, and it looked super nice.
Yeah.
But I was looking at it, I was like, man, this is really nice.
No, they did a lot. No, listen.
This looks like it's gonna be pricey though.
Yeah, when I
Yeah, they
went
did
there
high
during the
speeds.
summer,
They did a lift
they were
all the way
still
to
building.
Kachina.
they still had like a couple like little hotel areas that they were building on the resort itself or on the valley itself.
Yeah,
So they're building it
lake.
up for a full resort.
They have aircraft now to bring you in from Texas or to bring you in from wherever straight into
Yeah,
town.
dude.
So millionaires are gonna fucking start coming out. Is what it sounds like.
And they've probably been working their way over
Yeah,
there.
no, I'm sure.
But anyways,
100%.
I don't know a lot about
so
the
Unit
ski
53,
stuff, so-
anyways, is stupid steep. So
Keep going, I'm just gonna check the
the
cameras.
cost to manage that area, beats because you can't just get heavy equipment in there. You got to get a man with a chainsaw who's rolling like
Yeah.
cubes all the way down just to get it going through. But then by cutting that area off and making it walk in, you limit the chance that there's some asshole who's just going to introduce a spark.
Yeah. Which you came up there late because you didn't come up the first week of the hunt. Mm-hmm. But like on the top loop that we usually do, like Like, no, it might sound like I'm complaining, but for like outdoorsmen, it's a real thing. And to prove it, they have loggers up there, right? And loggers go off of base contracts. You buy a certain area, contracted by the BLM to pull so much wood out. You're allowed to pull so much. I mean, you saw the wood piles when we went up there, right?
Yeah.
That's where your truck decided it wanted to blow up.
Hey, listen. Hey, you know what? In all fairness, okay, I walked out of there with just a blown hose, and we're fine. All right.
Anyways.
Well, actually, that's not true. My hose for my power steering went out, and then my reservoir for my windshield wiper fluid that cracked. But fuck.
So your
it's
diff
fine.
is no longer trying to
no,
grenade on you?
dude. All that nonsense is perfectly fine.
But anyways,
oh yeah,
back to
we're
it.
good
So
to go.
You saw all the logging that was going up there, right?
Yeah.
Logging's a is a
And all the
decent thing.
fucking
Is-
graffiti on the.
Did you see what it said though?
Huh?
Did you see what it said?
I don't remember. Remember, it was a bunch of talking shit.
Essentially, but it wasn't necessarily because they were logging or because it's because they had a tractor on the road blocking the road. Like that's how serious people take access.
Yeah,
I
dude.
mean, I would take. I
They
mean, if
broke
that was,
all the windows out of it. They graffitied it.
Well, if that was-
They spray
But
painted a
in
big
all
old dick
fairness-
on
They
it.
spray
yeah,
painted a
if
big
that
old
was
wiener on
if
it.
that was my thing, like if
And it was during the hunt.
Like, if
where
I-
we used those loops.
like I enjoyed going camping, but like if that was my whole life. Well,
Bro.
and it's not obviously, but
Well-
if my whole life was going out and being an outdoorsman,
Well, that's the thing.
camping
Here's
a ton,
another story.
I would do the same thing.
It was I think it was the hunt before you started coming with me hunting, and there was an outfitter out of another state.
Bring this mic.
Buddy, want me to put it on your keyboard?
Yeah, you have to. He's talking a lot, so I want the people to hear David.
So one of the hunts I went on, it was another outfitter that, like, I don't know what the word is for. I guess contracted some private land from an owner just so they could put up like tents. So you had out-of-staters that would put in for the New Mexico draw, and if you got it, then you could go with this guide that was also from out of state. He would pay a private landowner to like essentially camp on the property, but they would hunt public land, right? And this outfitter brought trucks, brought four-wheelers, brought all kinds of stuff during bow season. And I think like bow season's more like, what's the word, like
Minimalist?
strict.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, dude.
So what these guys were doing is they're not from here. They don't hunt here. The outfitter wasn't from here. The outfitter didn't hunt here. And they were taking four-wheelers everywhere, which is a big no-no for bow. Bow, you walk. You hump. You walk. You hump. You walk.
So
You
why-
don't-
is that?
So west hunting is a pain in the ass on its own because of fucking mountains. But bow season, because when we come in, we're right off of what, Memorial Day?
Yeah, like 2 days before.
Yeah, so like we're riding that weekend, and so you already have to get close
Yeah,
enough to the
it's
elk
already-
as it is.
Right.
Like my
What's a good? I've never been bow hunting. I've never been hunting, but
I
like,
would be
so what's-
comfortable to shoot one at 90 yards if it was a good shot.
I was gonna
like
say,
nothing
what's
in the
a-
way, easy, clear shot,
Hey,
90
but-
yards.
but-
But usually you get like 40.
So before I answer,
He killed one at 80.
So before I ask this question, like realistically, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your skill level at bow hunting?
Like all encompassed.
Yeah, everything.
I don't know. I don't even know how you rate that. Like,
I
can
would
I get into elk?
I would
Sure.
say as an overall archer, I'm probably like a solid 8.
Okay, and
So
you?
it's one of those things. Yeah, like same thing as an overall archer. Could I go and throw a 4-inch group at 90 yards? Yeah.
Okay.
Could I get into elk every single day? Yeah, I know where they are. I can call them. I can move them. I can do all that. Now, can I make all those things come together so perfectly
I'm about
every
4.
single time? Yeah, like a 2. Like there's so many components that it's like, yeah, okay, cool. You stalked the elk. You've gotten the elk. You're close enough to the elk. Yeah, you can shoot, but can you make everything else where they don't wind you? You can bring them into a shooting lane. You can find a shooting lane. You can do all that. Yeah, not that good.
Okay.
Because the
so
amount
my-
of times I've
But
gotten
anyways, let me get
in-
back to the story because
Well, I
sick.
just asked because I think a good question to start this is so because you're talking about you have to get close to the elk, right?
Just how strict bow hunting is.
What's a comfortable distance for you guys to shoot an elk at?
That's what I'm saying. If it's in an open meadow like the way he is, I'll drop one at 90 yards. If it's in the trees and it's only showing 6 inches of its body, like 30, 40.
Okay.
It really just depends, dude. Truly.
Yeah, because the biggest pain in the ass is honestly getting them in a shooting lane.
Yeah.
And then once you get that, because dude, I had a fucked up shot on this like little spike. He was just sitting kind of what I thought was open, and what I didn't fucking account for was the damn arc that my
and it hit a
arrow
branch
was
up
gonna
top.
take. And so I'm drawn back. I have my tape all the way down to 80. and I fucking send it, and then all of a sudden I just hear smack, and I hit a fucking branch. And we had been sending a meme back and forth to each other about hitting a tree on a deer, and it's that scene from Benchwarmers where he goes, "You just lost your membership to Video Spot," and so
I definitely said it to him after he did it.
fucking hit it, and I hear the branch smack, and this elk takes off, and then D just goes. And I was like, "You just fucking lost your fucking membership to Video."
But anyway, so yeah, preface it. Bow hunting is super strict, and it's, I don't know how to say it, but
Just angle it towards your mouth.
dude, I'm gonna put it in my mouth. I'm filling it with my little goatee.
Well, you should feel it with your tonsils.
Sir. So I already lost my train of thought 'cause you guys had to go on tangents of how
Outfitters.
hard it is to shoot an elk. But anyways, yeah. So these outfitters came in, out of state, hunters, out of state, on a bow hunt. And they started running four-wheelers like up the mountain, off the road, through the trees.
You're disturbing. You're
Yeah,
disturbing.
you would see four-wheeler
everything.
tracks. You'd
Yeah.
be walking like 2 miles in off the road, and there was four-wheeler tracks everywhere, and no animals to be seen. They pushed them all off that mountain, and it's a big mountain to push. And they rode four-wheelers for probably 8 hours a day, and ended up pushing all the elk off the mountain.
Jesus.
I would say maybe like 3 days left to the hunt. Somebody came and shot up their whole camp, shot every single four-wheeler, shot every single truck, shot everything up, totaled out everything.
You don't fuck with norteños, bro.
I gotta be real. I've become very anti-violence over the last like 2 years. Or
Yeah,
so.
no, 100% wouldn't be me, but I'm just saying that's how
no,
serious.
no. But
Over a hunt.
there are caveats, and I kind of respect it. I gotta be honest. And
you also have to figure-
because what's the alternative? They see you doing that and they beat the fuck out of you. I'd rather lose my equipment than my fucking life or my ability.
Oh
to
no,
do
100%.
this again.
And because some people take it so serious, as if you think about it, that is their vacation. They
Yeah.
save up all their PTO to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of
Some people go to
People-
Disneyland.
Well, even
some
then,
people
dude,
go to whatever.
some people
people
aren't-
eat.
Yeah,
and that's how people eat.
That's what I was gonna say. Is some people go out there and they kill a couple, like 1 or 2 elk, because what you can live off a fucking elk for how long?
I don't know how good of a freezer you got.
Yeah, provided you have the equipment and all that to do it, and you
years.
can store an elk. How long can you fucking?
I
eat
mean,
an
I
elk?
still got my bull sitting in. I'm
Yeah,
probably
that's-
still chilling on maybe like 30 pounds of meat.
Okay, and how long did you get that? How long
2
ago?
years ago.
Okay, my perfect example, right? So if there's people that go out on vacation, they do that, but now you put on top of, hey, it's my leisure thing, it's what I love doing, it's my thing. We all have our thing.
Not to
That's my
mention
thing.
how much
So then-
money you put into
and then
it.
I was
Oh,
yep.
God.
So then how expensive all these things are, because you save up money for it, and then you have these fucking jackasses who probably run around like a bunch of rich kids. Or maybe they're fucking ignorant and stupid, but rich kids, not that they aren't, but you see what I'm saying, right? But
Well, no, they are. You,
But you have a
Dude,
bunch
do you
of-
know how
we have
much
a
it
bunch of-
costs to do a destination hunt?
But you have, I do know, yes. Fucking
well, same thing happened to us when we went to 53. Remember during the COVID and all the
All the
Texans,
Texans
from
fucking-
COVID.
Yep, but then you have a ton of fucking people, or you have these people that come in that I would put at the top of the ladder is that they don't respect what they're doing and they don't respect what they're interfering with. You know what?
And
I
you get a
kinda
hunt,
get
it's
it.
hard. I haven't gotten a tag since that last time we went in 2019. That was the last time I drew a tag. So sometimes it's not even like
What's the criteria for getting a tag, by the way?
random lottery.
Is it a lottery?
Well, I guess
So
it's
New
not.
Mexico has draw odds.
Yeah.
And so I was looking up the draw odds, and where we put in, there's like 2,000 people putting in, and they're only handing out 120 tags.
And most of those tags don't even get filled anyways.
And that's just for archery.
Wait. Let's go to that. What do you mean?
So out of 120 tags,
so like a lot of people, what they'll do too, like from out of state or even in state, is they'll put in for multiple hunts or whatever. And even if they get the tag, they won't fill them or they won't go on them. Or
Oh, so they just say, hey, it's like you
and you
reserve.
can't transfer or sell tags.
So right, so it's like you reserve your spot to a concert, or you buy a ticket to a concert, you have a seat, and you just don't go watch the show.
Yeah, no, I know a few
a
guys
bunch
that
of-
put
why
in
would
for the
you-
hunt, and then they're like, "Oh, I can't make the hunt. Something came up. I got to go do this or whatever." But they have a tag, but you can't transfer it.
Why
you
not?
can't sell it
because the state of New Mexico
Yeah,
says
go
you
ask,
can't.
Go ask. That's everywhere. The only way you can transfer a tag is, I believe, if you're active military and got orders to go, and then you could transfer it to a close
Or
relative
So is it
a
is-
medical issue.
or a medical issue.
So are there like background checks ran? Are there any like criminal things that bar people from getting into it?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah,
Everything.
so-
Everything.
Okay, so that's why I asked. So then it's
Dude,
like,
if you owe 1 month of child support, you can't draw.
and that's the same thing for, funny enough, because I work at the security guard company. If you can't get a fucking security guard license in the state of New Mexico, if you owe fucking
Yeah.
child support. But so I bring that up. So then, in theory, should there be a system in which you can transfer a tag to somebody? Let's just say, for argument's sake, you want to transfer from one social security number to another social security number, but then when they do the transfer, they'd run a background check.
Well, I think you
Should
would
that be in place?
I think you would have to put to somebody who already drew, or return your tag to the state so they can hand it to the next
The
person.
re-lottery.
Yes.
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 That makes sense.
Because the problem is you're going to have people now that are like, ooh, I can make money doing this. And you're going to have everybody that's not
resell.
hunters putting in for the hunt, making the draw odds even way worse, just in the hope that they can scalp
So-
people
But
for
how do you?
tags.
But how do you guarantee? So if we're doing the lottery thing, so maybe you're going off a different argument. But like if you're doing the lottery thing, where it's like, hey, I can't do it, throws back into the pool to get drawn from, and the people are on like a wait list or whatever. How would you do that where you could resell a tag if it's going back to a pool? You couldn't.
You couldn't.
No,
so that's
you're
why
not
you should be able to
reselling.
sell
You're
it.
just returning.
So why can't you do that?
I don't know.
Because this.
I mean,
So let me rephrase that question. Why is there not a system in place for the government to allow it to happen?
I don't know.
there is something like that, kind of, but I don't know exactly where they get the tags from, but it's like on claim tags or on whatever. They'll put them at the bottom of the website after, and you can go in and try buying them, but it's for whatever species at whatever hunt at whatever
Yeah,
area.
you can get trash hunts.
like
doing that,
and they're never
but
a
you
bunch
can-
of tags.
What's considered a bad hunt?
Certain areas, certain
Yeah, like so. There's
like typically you want the second hunt because they're closer to the rut. Typically you want areas that have bigger population, that kind of stuff.
an area in like southern New Mexico that has an elk population, or like south central, I guess, area of New Mexico that's got an elk population, but it's so small that I forget what unit it is, but you just basically, unless you know exactly where they're gonna be, good fucking luck.
Okay, so I guess So is a bad tag or a bad hunt, is that based on what you're allowed to shoot at, or is that based on
No, it's
the
what you
area?
put in for it. So
Yeah,
it's
you-
like
you
it's your
choose
fault.
what you're
You
hunting
choose
for.
where you want to try to go to.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
the area that you
So
get.
like you get first, second, and third choice, and you get an optional fourth.
Optional fourth.
Yeah. So let's say I put in all four, and I go for 51, 52, 53, and 49, which are pretty decent areas. 53, like we said, sucks because it's just steep.
Got some of the biggest bulls in there though.
Yeah. And so
You
let's
need
say
horses.
so let's say you put in for all of those and just no fucking luck. I'm like, oops. But like I was looking at the draw odds the other day.
Man, what's your time real quick? What's your time frame on you're allowed to go hunt?
Depends on
Depends.
hunt.
So if you do first hunt, you get like 2 weeks. If you do second hunt, you got a week because they're closer to the rut, so they should be getting louder. But like you'll get those freak instances. Last hunt, it happened where, it hailed, and so it looked like snow, and it sent these elk fucking nuts. They thought it was time to start breeding, and so they were just talking all night. And then the next day they shut the fuck up because everything melted, and they're like, "Oh, we were just over exaggerating. It wasn't that crazy."
And I don't even know if it's necessarily that, but just the cooler weather in general will get them more active. Big animal.
They want to cuddle.
Yeah.
They want to get real close to you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Back to your earlier point, I would be fucking, if this was my thing, like if hunting and being an outdoorsman, like of course you add the fact that this is how you feed yourself, how you feed your family, like
Like, it has to be a huge part of your life
But if
to get into it.
if people were coming in and fucking up the land and ruining the population of what we're hunting and all that stuff, that would really fuck me up.
And you might only be your one chance in the next 5 years.
Exactly. That would piss me off too. And based off the lottery and the ability to get the tags, like
And Instagram has popularized it so much, which is a good thing.
So I have a question. Well, I think hunting culture should grow, and I want to get into it. I just don't have the time or the money to do it. But
and it takes both of them.
Exactly, and it's the necessity because again, you guys know me well enough. I think a lot about like the apocalypse and what if it goes to shit. And
Yeah, it's nice to be able to know that you could if you needed to.
Exactly, I want to have the skills.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask a really stupid question.
My favorite.
But so everyone draws tags,
Mm-hmm.
and they set out. Let's say like first pull, you say gets 2 weeks, second gets 1 week, whatever. Okay. when you get a tag, do they tell you like, hey, here's a map. This is only where you're allowed to shoot. Like, how do you prevent the same people hunting in the same areas of land?
So
how do you mean? Because my worry, because here's my worry. Let me finish my question. Because my worry is like, yes, of course, you're like, you know, you're competing for the animals, you're competing for what you can hunt and what you can take and all that kind of stuff. But I would also worry about what if you're hunting in the same area as some dumbass. Like, let's say like you guys are experienced. Let's say for argument's sake, you guys are rifle hunting, right? And you're using firearms and you're going out there to get whatever you're going to get. Okay. And then you've got dad and his son on the same plot of land, and little boy hasn't fucking shot a rifle before in his life, and let's say it doesn't even kill you, just clips you in the fucking leg.
Yeah, it happens with rifle hunts, not with bow hunts.
Like I'm just saying, like
that's
how,
your public land.
Like how is
But
that?
at the same time, the public land, dude, for the amount of hunters in and how big the land is, I've never seen another hunter.
Are you fucking kidding, bro? So me and his
I just asked because like I've seen videos mostly with bow hunters, but I've seen just hunting videos in general of how camouflaged people get themselves. You know what I mean?
As a bow hunter, you're not throwing an arrow unless you know what it is.
You would okay, but that's why I didn't use the bow hunting example.
Yeah, no, it happens more with rifle.
Because because with bow hunting, I'm assuming there's a lot more discipline and practice with that. But with rifle hunting,
you gotta see
you're
within
using
60
fucking
yards.
firearms.
But that's why burnt orange. I think in New Mexico, it's not a mandatory.
It is.
Is it?
Oh, well, I know for youth hunts, you have
Yeah.
to have at least like one piece of clothing that's orange. I don't know if that's also for like regular hunts.
Right. So you would just need to have like a hat.
Like
but
a
that's
hat.
why burnt orange on rifle hunts has been pushed so much. And like in some states, it's mandatory. Others, it's like a suggestion because you're not going to shoot anything that's burnt orange that doesn't just show up in the wild
And
unless
that's
some shit's
not a
on
big
fire.
issue in the West. That's a bigger issue back east and stuff like that. We're on much smaller plots of land, public. That's
But,
where that
like-
kind of happens. But over here, there's just
Like me and his brother were trying to get to a
too
blind.
many ridges in the way.
And
well, I just asked 'cause I would be worried about that personally.
Yeah, over
Well-
here, it's not a huge worry.
so like me and his brother, we were trying to get to his dad's blind because they were like, oh yeah, we saw some elk walking through. If you get to that in time, you should be good. So we're trying to work our way through, and like the one rule we had was no matter what, just move slow because we had already bumped like a couple does. So we were just moving through, and then all of a sudden we start hearing something crash, and we're like, we didn't bump anything. So we just like sit down and squat, and then just a bunch of deer come running at us. And they literally just run maybe like 20, 30 yards off. Like they kind of see us and then change course. And I was like, what the fuck bumped them? There's these
You start
two.
thinking bear or something.
Yeah,
you're like, oh,
so
crap.
I'm sitting there. I got like my gun just ready,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Because then you don't see people a lot. So if that happens, you're like, oh, there's a bear or a mountain lion
or
or,
a fucking
something.
bobcat coming
Yeah.
through. Like you're pissed. You're just sitting there like, I'm gonna have to fucking do something that may or may not get me in trouble. So all of a sudden, I just see two dumbasses come fucking trudging through.
No, keep going. Keep going.
I see like these two dumbasses just trudging through, just loud as shit. And I think that was maybe the third time I had ran into somebody who on that land was just not caring about like the noise that they were making. Because there was another time before where I was kind of just chilling out by myself, and then just some dude just is trucking through. And I'll give some credit to some people are just trying to get to an area where they think they know something's at, so they don't care what they power through initially for the first mile when it's at mile 3.
But is there like no noise discipline for like? Okay, here's a better question: Are you, or I guess like a secondary, are you notified of other hunters in the area?
No.
That's stupid.
Why?
Why?
Okay, so if you pull a tag and you're going somewhere, shouldn't you be like, hey, there's other people hunting in this area?
You know
You
there's
just
other
assume
people.
other
Oh,
people.
you just assume. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's
And
fair.
you see them
they
at the
give
bottom.
out
So then,
And when you're driving up the mountain, that's where all the camps are. You see the camps. It's just when you go into the mountain to go hunt, that's when you
okay,
don't
so
see
then
anybody.
it's a implied task.
Yeah,
It's
we
like,
see
hey,
'em on the
like
roads.
noise discipline and
Well,
all
and
that.
so you
Okay.
know that
Okay.
somebody's in the area. So there's even sometimes where like you'll hear something bump, and there's always like the joke amongst hunters that it's a squirrel that makes you think it's a fucking bull elk just coming through. And so the
How
anticipation,
quiet those animals are insane.
yeah, dude, like you'll just see like a herd of elk walking through, and you didn't even know they were fucking there. Yet you heard the squirrel from fucking like 500 yards back, and you're just sitting there thinking that it's something.
Even when they run away, how quiet they are and just disappear. You have a 1,200-pound animal that just to vanish before your eyes.
Yeah, dude, it's
insane.
crazy. But you know, usually like when you hear noises, your first thought is I need to see it in order to believe it. Because I can sit there and try to investigate, but even like there's been times where we've heard something like kind of bump and just move, that you try to move closer to it, and then once you get close enough that you disrupt it, and then you start hearing them fucking crash, you're like, oh, I fucked up. So that noise discipline goes into I care more about getting the animal than running into another hunter. But there's been times and stories, I haven't done it personally, but I've heard stories of people calling to each other.
Oh yeah, they're doing this with other hunters.
It's like
and
the
stuff.
Spider-Man meme where it's like,
Yeah, no, dude. Like so I was watching this one video and this guy goes, I have a hunter in front of me and I have a hunter behind me. And he goes, I run my elk call behind me, so if I'm moving forward, they think I'm moving the opposite direction. He goes, but what's fucked up is I'm calling and this hunter's coming this way and this guy's coming this way.
so how do you, wait, I was going to ask that, because how would you like directional the sound?
You just change where your bugle's facing.
Oh, I mean, I guess.
If I
but-
yell at you facing this way versus yelling at you facing this way, you're going to hear me differently.
yeah, that's fair. I guess you're, because my ears aren't like attuned to.
That's a different thing. Well, yeah,
I
I mean,
guess.
the mountains are when it's dead quiet and there's trees and ridges.
I would just think it would just go.
No, it's quite easy to figure out where sound's coming from
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay.
And like,
and smell too. Yeah, you'll smell them before you hear them, or you'll see them. The wind will just carry and you'll smell them. And you'll be like,
They're
oh,
stinky.
that way.
Okay, so here's one of the last questions I have about hunting. So you get your fucking kill. Let's say it's a giant elk.
That's where the werewolf begins.
Generally speaking, let's say you get a that's a buck, right? So you get a big elk. Generally, how much do they weigh?
A big buck,
Yeah,
like deer.
yeah,
Oh,
or yeah. I don't know the terminology.
big
bull is
deer.
an elk, buck is a deer.
Oh, okay. So the bigger of the category. How much
so
do they?
a big elk?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that could be. Well,
So I think it's 1,700 pounds is like the average size for a bull.
Okay.
but it's also like how much meat you're actually taking off of it. So
Right.
really, you're probably only taking like 300, 400 pounds of meat off, depending
Depending on how you do it. 'Cause-
Yeah.
So if you do full quarters and you're taking like the bones with you as well, you can be walking out in some cases with like, depending on size, you can walk with
Yeah, it was like a
anywhere
massive-
from 500 to 700
Yeah.
pounds.
It was
Okay,
like a
because
massive
I was
bull.
gonna say, because here's where I'm going with this, right? So I've always thought about it, because I see the same shit you guys probably do. Like generally, I'm not, because again, I'm not into this. I
Yeah,
don't-
just like on
I-
Instagram or whatever.
It's on Instagram with like Cam Haynes,
Yeah,
Rogan,
those dude's sick.
and all them, right? When they go out and they get their big ones, right? And they get these big, 12,
Yeah, they get trophy bulls.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like,
So Google tells you 280 pounds of meat is what you can walk out
okay,
with.
so that was my question. So it's like,
I
so
think
you
it's more
so
than that.
so you kill the
Get that off a
animal.
deer.
You kill the animal. You walk up to it.
Make sure it's
And,
dead.
and let's say you have. He gave him a look.
No, I thought mine was still alive.
I have 2 pictures of him. I only took 2 pictures of the deer he killed. First one, he lifts it up, super happy, but when he moved it, like some air escaped out of it, so it made a noise. Dude, the second picture is the most terrified face ever.
He thought he was Eddie Gallagher for a second, posing with a fucking.
Yeah, so like the first picture, he's just smiling, happy, and then it made a noise, and then this is his face, like on the second picture.
Do you have that picture?
Yeah,
I
I'm
would
like-
love to see it.
I'm like this in the
please.
first one, like, and then it makes the noise, and I'm like,
yeah. It was
If you
hilarious.
have that picture,
I have
please
it.
show me. I would
have
love to see.
it scared the shit out of me.
It was the funniest thing ever. I laughed
Because
my ass
mind
off.
you, we only walked up to this thing maybe like 30 minutes after I killed it, and I thought I shot it square. I got like a Texas hard shot. I thought I shot it square up the asshole because it was like rear quartered through it. I thought I missed. We see it down maybe like 20, 30 yards away from where
Yeah, I
we
went to
ended
go
up
look for
walking.
your arrow, and there was a dead elk instead.
And then we just see it. And so we're like, get the fuck out. Just let it die. And so we wait like maybe like 30, 40 minutes. And I'm like,
But
I
it was
think that
already
thing's-
down.
Well, I was
so it
gonna.
like-
So actually, that's one of the questions I had beforehand too.
Yeah,
Like,
so
let's say,
this was him, like he first picked it up, super stoked elk, and then I just genuinely just took a second picture, and then that's when it
Yeah,
moved.
I've seen the first one. Let me see the second one.
The funniest thing ever.
Dude, this needs to. How has this not ended up in a fucking group chat of ours, dude? This
I
is
don't know,
great.
but it was hilarious because you have to have the story to go along with it, and I just like took 2 pictures really fast, and that's what it ended up coming out with.
Because that one's like a profile picture that I've seen before, and then the other one is like, oh fuck.
He's like, it's alive.
So I walk back up to it. So we walk up to it, and then I'm like, all right, let's get the pictures. You know, I didn't see it moving, and then I turned its head to like get ready to pose for the picture, and then that's when like the first one went. And then right at that point, I guess just the air inside of its lungs just escaped.
Just
like
left,
I just
right.
twisted it perfectly,
Right.
and it sounded like it was breathing. And I threw that bitch down, and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And he's like, "Bro, that's just air escaping." And so that was the first elk I ever killed. Scared the shit out of me because I thought it was still alive.
It's coming right for us.
Well, like my worry the whole time was I was like, I'm gonna fucking just shoot an elk in like no man's land, and it's just gonna be like laying down, and I'm gonna walk up to it like it's dead, and it's just gonna wake up pissed. And so like that was just a consistent fear.
How are you gonna wake up dead?
Dude, no, you think that they're dead and they're just laying down,
Yeah,
dying,
dude,
and
it's
you walk up on them too early, and
That joke
they
went
jump
like-
straight
oh,
up.
Yeah, no,
no, I
from-
get it.
okay.
but
Scary
also-
movie?
Yeah.
Oh, he's just an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
My
So
bad.
a
Pause for
question.
applause.
So a question about killing the animal. What is considered not a safe kill, but something that's I can't
Like ethical?
Ethical. Thank you. What is considered an ethical kill when you're
Harder
looking?
lungs.
Okay. I'm just asking.
Yeah, something
Because
that's
I
gonna
knew
get
that,
it
but I
pretty
didn't know what like audience members might know. So like, what is considered like with bow? Because you guys enjoy bow hunting more than you do rifle. Same thing, I'd imagine, right? It doesn't matter what the instrument you're using, just as long as you hit
Yeah.
the.
Well, like you can hit
Yeah,
them in
like
the
with
gut
his
and they'll
elk.
die.
Yeah.
But you're waiting 9, 10, 12 hours.
But you don't want the
I don't know
animal.
about
But you
that.
don't want the animal to suffer, and you also don't want the meat to get super gamey, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, gamey is just a fucking stupid term for people who don't
No, but
understand
there is
what
something
grass-fed
to it
means.
too. Like there is some people that
Wait.
do.
Let's back up. Say that again. Wait a minute. Because I just asked because the way I've understood it is you want a quick kill so that the meat stays tender, because what'll happen is if the animal is suffering, all the hormones that shoot through it will make
So it's not the suffering; it's the running away really, really fast with a bunch of
It's the
adrenaline.
adrenaline dump.
exactly.
So hormones, yes.
So the
But
hormones
it's-
shoot. So the hormones shoot through it, and it makes the meat super.
Well, it's that, but it's also if you keep chasing it after it's injured and it's running, it builds a lot of heat, and the heat is what gives it the gaminess.
Right.
So typically when you hear the term gamey, it's referring to just saying it tastes like game meat. Right? So
Gay meat.
Game meat.
Gay meat,
I heard
yeah.
gay too, but game.
game GAME MEAT.
Yeah, right.
So eating game meat. Now I can only hear it.
It's
I
too
can
easy to
only
make
hear
fun
it
of, so I'm
now.
not going
Yeah.
to. But yes.
But so when somebody says something is gamey, they're basically referring to just a grass-fed animal. Like my buddy's wife, they bought a bunch of grass-fed meat, and she goes, "I don't know why this tastes so gamey," and it's just because it
It's
has
tough,
a natural
right?
diet.
It's not that
Yeah.
it's tough; it just tastes a little different, man.
There's just not enough of like, so pigs, right? When you go onto a pig farm, or even just like some commercialized cow farms, they feed them a lot of sugar and carbohydrates because that's what fattens them up and then makes the meat taste sweet. And so that's
And
why,
everyone's always trying to compare it with beef, whereas like deer and elk are super active, so they're super lean.
like,
Right.
like when you're pulling the meat off of an elk, there's no marbling.
Yeah.
that doesn't exist.
Right.
The fat even on an elk tastes shitty. I'm over here
Right.
like with beef tallow
Yeah.
on my elk
Right,
because I
yeah.
got to make it, improve it a little bit better because I have a high quality sense of taste.
As he drinks the the Costco Woodford Reserve, the
Yeah.
giant.
No,
fucking-
but
Not in all
there is
aspects,
something
just some.
there is something to like the term
I like it.
gamey, and that's like, yeah, if you injure an animal and then people just keep bumping it and bumping it and bumping it, trying to see if it's dead yet, and they'll keep bumping it, and they build a bunch of heat in
I
their
was saying,
body.
define bumping it. What does that
Bumping
mean?
it is like if like the animal is in a stationary position and you get close enough to spook the animal, so then it gets up and runs a short to medium distance before it stops again. That
Why
would be
would you
considered a
want
bump.
to do that?
You don't.
You don't.
Yeah, that seems
So that's what I'm saying.
counterintuitive.
Like that's where you get that. That's what I'm saying. That's where you get the gaminess. Is some people don't wait, or they make a bad shot, and they're like, "Oh, we dropped it over there," and you can see it laying down because they'll lay down once they've been shot. Not dead though, so you'll walk up to it, and it'll stand right up and run.
Right.
So then you chase blood
So-
again, and then you see it down again, and you're like, "Oh, I'm trying to get
You
close
keep
to see it,"
causing
and then
like
they
these
get up again
temporary
and go
adrenaline
again.
dumps.
But a lot of it's the heat they build in their muscles from the running. Because
Interesting.
deer and elk don't run. They're not gazelles. They run if they have to. If not, they're just trotting and grazing, just slow, steady.
So then my question would be like, why do they? I mean, the size makes sense, but like, if they're more stationary, why is it considered?
I don't say they're stationary. They move, they cover a lot of ground. They just do it slowly.
Oh,
they don't
okay.
run unless they
Okay.
have to.
Okay.
It's like if you just walked miles a day.
Oh,
Like you
okay.
would like
Yeah.
stop and like eat, and then
It's,
you just
it's
walk
the
a little
tortoise
more.
and the hare.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Because like
Okay,
I've had
okay.
meat to where it's like, yeah, we killed it, we dumped it immediately, died immediately, we immediately skinned it, quartered it, and the meat is amazing. And then I've had some people where people will go and load up the whole thing into a truck, drive the truck an hour and a half back to town so they can show all their buddies, go to everybody's work to show what they just killed, parade it, and it's been 6 hours since when they killed it, and it still has its skin on, it still has everything, and that's when you start getting that gay meat.
Okay, so that
taste.
leads in my the last question that I had before that one was, okay, so you've killed the animal, you approach the dead body, and again, the only thing I know is like Rogan and campaigns. So you have this. Let's just like call him a median weight, like 1,400 pounds.
Again, it depends the animal, depends what you kill.
Let's just say 1,000.
Okay, so
Call it
1,000
easy.
pounds. You have a 1,000-pound animal in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
What I've always been curious about is like how much of that are you actually let's say you are going down a pretty steep mountain. Let's say you have like miles to get back to your camp.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that are you actually taking with you? A and B, how do you decide what you take outside of the essentials of like the most of the meat you're gonna eat?
So-
like what are you deciding to take with you? Because I was like, fuck, you're gonna take 1,000 pounds on your back? What the fuck?
So if you're fucked
No,
and
not.
you're sitting there
Like,
looking
again,
at how much you have
before
to go through,
because again, I just want to answer from like the layman, because my stupid ass. Like I just
Well,
think,
I mean, you're right,
I just think about this and I'm like, are they cutting off like are they with a couple of buddies and they're like cutting off legs and they're like figuring out how to divvy up meat? Like
Yeah,
what are they,
exactly.
like
So
what are you
it
doing
again, it
to quarter
depends.
to the animal to make sure that you get as much out of it as possible?
You'd
Because
be
you're
s-
spending all this money.
You'd be
You're
surprised how much they come apart like Legos. Like truly.
No, I wouldn't because I just asked because like
So
you're,
no, okay, so here okay, I'm gonna answer you.
yeah.
So you have your essentials, your 4 quarters, and your backstrap. That's like essentials that you have to take.
you don't leave
D-
without.
define backstrap.
The meat that runs along the spine, your lomo.
Okay.
You have to take. That's like the essentials. Now, let's say you are far out, right, and you have to do it. You can then debone the meat, and that'll lighten it up a lot. Like once you debone it, then you just shed it off another couple hundred pounds.
How much do you think?
But if
like-
you don't have to do it, if you're close enough and you're close enough, you can get a truck in. There's no reason to. 'Cause that's that much more work.
So I was gonna ask about that, like if a vehicle becomes into play, but like let's say there's no vehicle, right?
So there's some
no
people-
vehicle, and you're having to hump. Let's say you have.
Yeah, you'd probably
let's-
debone.
Well, let's just say like by the 100 pounds of meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have 100 pounds of meat.
It also depends where you shoot it.
How much bone are you taking out? And what does that lower the 100 pounds down to?
Oh, dude, I don't know. But like, let's say if you had your quarters, and just for easy math, all the quarters put together was 400 pounds. You got rid of the bone, you're probably left with 250, somewhere around there.
I'd say like closer to 300. But it just depends on the animal itself.
So getting rid of the bones from the animal is a quarter of the weight.
In some reference,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe even more,
Okay.
dude. Those stuff's heavy. Big bones.
But
yeah.
it also depends on what you're.
I'm big boned.
Yeah, like
Well, so it depends on. So like that show Meat Hunter, right?
Yeah.
Steven Ranella.
Yeah.
There are some people who overnight, they'll cook up some of their animal and they'll just stay by their kill, but they'll hang it in a tree. There are other people who, like, let's say they can only walk out with 2 quarters. They're not going to leave the rest of the animal just to be picked apart. They're going to pull it into a tree, or they're going to, quarter it. They're going to get all their meat and they're going to pull that into
So
a
how do
tree.
you? I've seen that happen. Like, so how? Let's say you're in, you're in a plot of land where there are predators that would come in and eat the meat, does just string up in a tree prevent that from happening?
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
I mean, like if you're dealing with
I
mountain lions,
was gonna say, 'cause I'm thinking about like mountain lions.
Yeah, but you don't string up like Yogi Bear like in the same tree. Usually, you run a string across multiple trees and then it goes in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, squirrels can get to it by running the tightrope, but it's like no bigger
You have
animal's
to be
gonna get a.
experienced to figure out how you're doing.
Well, yeah,
that
like is a
and,
bear gonna walk across a tightrope to get to it? Like no.
Okay.
you would basically just set it to a point where
But again,
even if
that's-
a bear stood up, it's
They
not an
can't
easy
reach it.
grab.
Yeah, okay.
But even if something climbed up, it's difficult enough to get to.
And that goes back to the roads being open for access because you can get a truck fairly close to be able to recover kill and stuff like that. A whole lot easier.
Okay.
Like where I killed mine, you saw how close we were able to drive up to that spot.
Yeah.
So between what, 5 guys?
Yeah, we got
We walked out of that and nobody got so much as a fucking
broke
complaint.
sweat. Yeah.
You know, but you figure had I tagged
that was within like 60 yards.
right,
that was
but
real
you
close.
figure had I tagged that thing maybe like 2-3 miles out between 5-6 guys, everybody's got to hump some weight. And
Which makes it easier, obviously, but
right.
I just think about these guys who go out in like pairs or solo, where it's like, how much are you taking with you?
Oh no, some
to
of
be-
those dudes will make
They'll make
5,
like
6
3-4 trips. Yeah.
Oh, they will go back and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's why
Yeah.
they hang it in a tree is
Okay.
because they're going to walk out with a quarter, 2-quarter, and then they're going to go, then they're going to come back. And if they're going to do this, they're going to take all of it.
Okay, fair enough.
There's some
And
people.
is there
But it
like
also
a-
depends where you shoot it. Sometimes you can't take all of it
But
because you put it through a gut or
but
something.
just for argument's sake, let's say you can't take as much as you can. Is there like a mutual respect amongst hunters where it's like if you see something in the fucking tree, you don't take it?
In New Mexico or in general?
Let's just say for our sake, New Mexico.
I don't know. Growing up, I've heard, I can't verify, but just growing up, in the mountains, where everybody and their mother hunts, literally everybody and their mother will show up at elk camp. I've heard of people getting in arguments of like, someone will shoot an elk at, 200 yards down like in a valley. And by the time they get there, other hunters have seen the kill and they'll argue on whose it was.
Even though you pulled your arrow out of it.
No.
Yeah.
I'm talking like no.
But I'm just saying-
I'm talking like the fucking carcass. The meat
That's what
is
I'm saying.
in the tree.
So if you think people are willing to argue about
Meat in a tree?
No, argue about who shot the elk when you know for a fact you never even took a shot. You're just trying to claim it. You really think people are going to respect the meat in a tree here?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
they'll
that's
just
fair.
take it too.
That's
But is that ever a
fucked.
problem? Like, probably not.
To be
Does that
honest,
ever
like
really
I think
happen?
the
Probably
chances
not.
that you run into it
like
are pretty fucking low.
The chances that you run into an alive one close enough is low, much less one that's in the trees. And you'd have to see it. Literally would have to walk up to it
Because
coincidentally.
if you're hoofing out,
the likeliness is so low, dude.
if you're hoofing out to where somebody's having to hang their meat in a tree just to walk back and do those like Steven Ranella trips back and forth,
like it's probably a 2%
the
chance.
person who's walking up to that is probably the same level of hunter that's like, nice.
That,
and then we'll go about the rest.
And the fact that you
okay.
cross paths even with it out of all that land, dude, it's probably like a 2% chance.
I ask out of ignorance, but I also ask out of like I don't trust a whole lot of people.
yeah, no.
So
just the
I
chances ain't high, so it becomes again
I'm
one of
not
those
expect-
non-issues.
I'm not expecting people to like be like stringing shit out in the open.
And
Because I'm more concerned about them hiding, not hiding, but like I guess hiding,
Well, like,
that's hard to say, just
camouflaging the
because-
meat from like natural predators, but
But like
from
I
people,
said,
people too.
That truly doesn't even happen much. Most people get it out within that day. Like I don't know anybody that's ever had to do multiple days. I've had people that have killed it like late, so they're just like, I'm just gonna leave it here, and I will wake up bright and early tomorrow to come get it.
Or like
that
even-
happens, and they've been fine. and no
Because
animals
most
have touched
predators
it.
won't fuck with it. If they know it's dead, they're like,
Yeah,
like
the predator-
coyotes, you have to worry about because they'll scavenge.
Coyotes and birds
Yeah,
birds
birds will
are
fuck
the
it
two.
up.
Birds will eat a whole carcass quick.
But like mountain lions and bears, if they know it's dead, they'll just leave it alone.
I hate to ask a dorky question, but what kind of bird?
Like crows.
Crows.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
dude, they'll pick a carcass clean quick.
Quick. Okay.
Quick.
How do you prevent that?
What do you mean?
Can you prevent it?
You get the animal out.
Right. Okay. But outside of just removing the fucking meat,
That's
if you have to lay it, if you have to string it up overnight, is there any way to fucking prevent crows from coming out and?
You do it overnight at your camp, but crows aren't going to come into your camp. It's like when was the last time you were able to walk up to
So-
a pigeon and pick it up? Like just not a thing.
Well, I'm asking interrogative
No,
questions.
I'm
The
just saying-
best way, because I think what you're getting at is like if I had to leave an animal hung up overnight and bail out,
Yeah.
and go back to camp before I can come get it the next day. Is that what you're asking?
Pretty much.
So
It provided you're not camping out next to the fucking meat.
You
best
have
way
like
for that.
like a day grace period, I would say,
Yeah.
before it becomes a worry.
Before the crows even find out it's there.
Find that it's there, and then start eating it and start getting it. Like, you have time. Not a lot of time, but
like
time.
overall
Yeah,
best
And it's always
way-
enough time.
Like 12 hours probably,
Yeah.
18 hours maybe.
You don't have to worry about it at night. You know, birds typically aren't out hunting at night or trying to find food at night. So it's like,
Can you
oh yeah, my bad, dude.
Overall best way though
just mute it? Just mute it.
I'm working on it.
is you have game bags with you. You show up and you get the animal. You find it's dead. You fucking skin it, quarter it. You do the whole shebang right there. You throw everything in a game bag. You hang it up in a tree.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing's gonna really fuck with it. Bugs can get on the game bag and they'll typically like mess with the blood that's like dripping from it, but nothing's touching your meat.
Oh, so you're
Birds
like
can-
putting something around it. So
Yeah,
Oh,
no, you're
okay,
not
okay.
just hanging raw meat.
Yeah,
up
I just-
in the
I just
fucking
asked
tree.
I mean,
questions.
we will air it out. Like,
We'll air
take
it out
them
at camp
and-
because
at
nothing
camp.
will fuck with you at camp. But
Okay.
yeah, typically you're gonna leave it in game bags, and you're gonna because you want to let the blood drain, like how he mentioned the adrenaline earlier. That's gonna fuck with a lot of the taste. So you want to let that blood drain before you even start pulling it apart.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And then you got to wash it and wash them in salt before you put them in the
Dude,
coolers,
the
all that.
salt bath that we had on there. I'm still pulling hair off my elk. I unfreeze that bitch, and I'm like, gross.
Yeah, I wish we could do, like, I wish we had the ability to buy something that was big enough to where you
Oh,
could do
so
that
so
easier.
here's another like ignorant question, I guess. So because from like just again outside looking in, when you have the piece of meat and you've skinned it,
Mm-hmm.
once you've skinned it, not all the hairs come out.
Well, hairs get back onto it.
Yeah, so like you'll take the hair off, but then while you're doing that, like just a normal shed, some shit will
fair
land on
enough.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Okay.
You're not just like fucking shaving this bitch raw.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes off with the hide and the skin, but like when you're ripping the hide off, like hair gets all over your
Right,
hands,
okay,
and
that
then you
makes
handle
sense.
the
That makes
meat.
sense.
And
Yeah, that
it's
makes
never
sense.
a bunch of hair, but
Right,
like
right.
you could see it like on top of the water after you've done washing it and stuff.
Right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, makes sense.
It's a lot of fun. Get into it.
I'd like to.
Takes a lot of skill, a lot of discipline, all your money, all your time.
Yeah, I would like money and time to be able to do it.
Well, so like if you got into archery or like let's say whatever discipline you choose to do, it takes maybe about like
It would be rifle. I'll be honest with you. It would be.
oh that's fine.
It would be
so,
rifle hunting.
So let's say you get into rifle
I
hunting.
want to be. I would like to be cool, and fucking bow hunt. I would like to be, but it just the way my brain works is like I'm already proficient with a rifle, so I'd like to start there and know what it's like. I would like to get the discipline of learning how to kill an animal properly, skin it, quarter it, all that stuff, and then apply the extra level of okay, no more rifle, now bow. That's how my brain works.
Dude, I got to a point with my bow before I sold it where I was more proficient with that than I was with any of my guns. And
Yeah,
I was
no,
like,
honestly.
Shit.
I could probably shoot a bow better than
Yeah.
a
I would kill somebody
weapon
more
now.
efficiently if it came to it with my bow. I'd Hawkeye a motherfucker, but then I'd
like a
pick
bow
up a
next
gun.
to the
See,
nightstand and a
that's
gun.
and that's why I hate Marvel Rivals because he said Hawkeye and my brain said
I
Green
know.
Arrow.
Yep.
Green Arrow,
I haven't played Rivals,
motherfucker.
so leave me alone. But even like, you know, picking up a bow, I'm more confident now. Mine, I still got to finish getting it set up, but I got to finish the tune and buy a different arrow.
Okay.
But before I sold my old bow, I'd pick that shit up and I can fucking drill almost out to 110 yards, feeling confident like that. I can land that shot. You know, pending that like a gust from hell didn't come. You know, I'm solid. But then I go and pick up my rifle and I feel like a stormtrooper.
Oh, you just.
Yeah, I'm like, it's that way.
Speaking of stormtroopers, I do want to just take a quick digress.
Yeah, we can definitely get off of hunting a bit on that.
So
a while.
this is the first podcast that we've done where the poster, one of the posters that I have on the guest side, is not only an original printing of Star Wars, just like before it was A New Hope and all that. Not only is it original printing of the poster, it is signed by Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, and then I want to say that last signature is George Lucas.
Have you looked up a George Lucas signature to see?
I haven't, but that was something that Evan's dad bought off an auction in like the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Like the 80s or the 90s. Yeah. So that's originally signed by all those actors or are actors in the
Yeah, I knew that. We've had that hung up.
Yeah,
in past houses for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm very happy to have it in the studio. I got Evan's permission to get it
Where
in
was
here.
it after we moved out of that one house? Because it was hung up in the game room for a while.
Well, it stayed there for a bit, and then I took it to the house with me and Joey.
And you just never put it up?
No, I literally just put it away so nothing would touch it.
You know what's wild too? At work, in one of the rooms, don't know who put it up there. Not sure. But Black Ops 1 Zombies poster is there. And it's signed by all the voice actors and
You've
stuff.
told me about this, and if I just had some real fuck you money, ugh.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody knows who put it up there. It's not framed. It's not anything.
Wait, what's hanging it up then?
Huh? I think it's just like double-sided taped or something. Or just like scotch tape. Like somebody just got it, put it up there in that room, and was like, sick. And nobody knows where it came from. And I was like, would anybody really miss it? But I'm obviously not gonna take it, but no, I know. I think I sent you a picture of it.
It
didn't
is no, but
know. Maybe it is framed,
It is
but-
scotch taped.
I think, and I could be wrong. Maybe it is like a cheap frame.
Well,
but-
double-sided tape, that's 3M. All right?
No!
You don't disrespect
No,
3M.
no, you do disrespect it when it's something.
But it was just funny. Like someone just put that up at a room
Dude,
at work. and
that fucking that one's broken, obviously. But when in decent condition, that Juggernog
like
goes for
$1,400.
$1,400. The poster.
I wanted
from
one,
Black
and then I
Ops
didn't want one
1?
anymore. Broken ones are $700.
Dude. Yeah, we'll talk. Anyway,
I know.
So-
like I wish I could like somehow talk to somebody that had enough authority to like give it away, but nobody knows who put it up. Who even knows if the dude works there anymore?
Just yoink that bitch.
No. We got to do some Indiana Jones. We got to get another one, right? Swap them,
Just take a really good picture of it.
right?
listen, I've never sucked a dick, but David, the amount of slob on your knob, if you just took that and
Corn on the cob.
and it magically found its way into the studio, yeah, fucking anyway.
I know.
Yeah. So something I wanted to bring up, if you guys are cool to talk about it, I've been genuinely curious, is removing all the, it's not bullshit, but just removing everything from like the social media movements and like the political movements. I've been very curious, genuinely curious, to talk to you guys about that. I know you've been in it for a long time, but just I don't want to say recent because I don't want to like devalue, but like the turn to Christianity, and not just the turn to Christianity, but like the feet first. I'm gonna do all of it. Like this is what I believe in. Whoever wants to start first. I know this is a long conversation.
You want me like a testimony or
so
what?
yeah. It's like what like
I mean,
what?
I can go first if you want.
Well, like what piqued your interest? What got you into it? What got you sold on it? And why do you sustain it? I think that's a good
No, yeah,
part.
I can go first. So I mean,
Yeah, sure.
Grew up in the church, grew up in youth group, knew scripture well, was in love with it, carried it on through
Well, was or was not?
what?
Was in love with
You were.
Okay.
I was in love with it. Or
And
was
the
not.
love never stopped. The love only grew. So
Okay.
I was saying was as in like, because I'm going to say like this is two different forms of Christianity. One that like a lot of people are like known with as being called like a lukewarm Christian. So I would say like that's what I was, right? Especially like in my teenage years or whatever. Like it was one of those things like if we were out somewhere and someone asked me about it, like, yeah, I would talk about it. I would affirm it. I would, talk to the best of my ability, whatever. But I wasn't outspoken about it or didn't live it or didn't, made a lot of excuses or tried to do like a lot of workarounds or a lot of, well, it's not technically like, a lot of that kind of stuff, right? Like that all the way up until like COVID, I would say. And kind of like the life that I wanted was going that way, was going great. Things were doing good. And it's like, you don't need Jesus when things are going good type of thing. It's not something that you think about or anything like that. Once COVID hit, that's kind of when everything came crashing down, from laying off from my job to my grandpa very sick to loss of relationships to just absolute loneliness. And that's what kind of started getting me back there. And my sister and her fiance, they started kind of like the same thing and started going back to church a lot. And it was almost kind of like that feeling of, what, you think you're better than me because you're going to church, because you're doing this? Not that anyone ever said it, but you know, you start comparing yourself, especially when you call yourself a Christian and you deep down know that you aren't, you know,
fulfilling what you
well,
know
your
you
fruits are
should.
bad, you know? So that's what a lot of it was. And then same thing even with her fiance, like when we would talk about it, I was like, oh, I don't have answers for this dude. Like I always assumed like
What were they asking you?
No, just like certain answers when it came to marriage or sex or like how a Christian should act or whatever. Because I was always the guy, I never surrounded myself with people from church, with people. So I was always the most knowledgeable guy when it came to that kind of stuff, right? Never really had somebody that would challenge me and ultimately prove me wrong and me not have an answer for.
Oh, okay.
So then that was kind of an eye-opening call. That was kind of, you know, this and that. And again, yeah, just all of a sudden, you know, you reevaluate and you're like, man, I'm not living this life. I'm not doing this. I'm making excuses. I look like the rest of the world. I am a lukewarm Christian. I am this. And then decided, I was like, you know, it's probably a good idea to go back to church. Hey, I've never, you know, read the Bible cover to cover. You know, I could say, like, if I added up all the different books, you know, that you've read sporadically, I'd probably have read the whole Bible, but just never sat down and said, I am reading the whole Bible cover to cover with study, with, you know, everything. So that's what I did. And I feel like once you give a certain amount of knowledge, you just want more and more and more and more. And now I'm at work and I'm fortunate enough to where I am able to, you know, have, you know, AirPods on, and now I'm listening to anything from philosophy to historical evidence to scholars to archaeological to, you know, debates. And that's just all I kind of listen to. And you do build your knowledge, you do build your repertoire, and you truly do fall in love with it that much more with the more that you kind of learn. And then you just want to learn more and you want to learn more and you want to become closer to, you know, God. And then, and through that, you realize, wow, I am not the same person I was a year ago or 2 years ago. I am different. I do like this version of me. I am happier. I don't deal with the same things that I dealt with before. It's like, it's almost like you've lost 100 pounds because, I mean, you did. You put that onto Christ. And that's kind of what it does. And yeah, I'm kind of trying to keep it up and try to go even further and even more. And I guess that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Where do you go to church at?
Calvary?
Over at the main one off of Suna?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious.
Solid church. Yeah, go to their Wednesday night Bible study. I mean, that's definitely my favorite. You know, takes them, you know, an hour and a half to go through 2 chapters.
Right, yeah.
And I'm sitting here with copious notes. I'm like, man, I don't even remember the last time I even like wrote this much other than high school and stuff. And
You're like, bro, I went to school less prepared than this.
yeah, I never showed up to school with a notebook, but when I show up to church with a notebook and highlighters and pens and
I'm getting a PhD right now.
literally, yeah. I was trying to learn as much. I was like, never once in my life, like, was like, you know what? I'm not going to play video games. I'm going to, you know, listen to, you know, this, I don't even know if you would call them sermons or whatever, but like, these debates and take notes. And
so what I enjoy, so it's funny you bring up the Wednesday nights, because what I enjoy about what Skip does is, because I tried for maybe not enough time, but I tried for a little bit going to Sunday services.
And that was another thing that even kind of inspired me to get back into. I was like, because I mean, take this as no offense, please. But I was like, Noah's going to church. What the hell am I doing? I was like, dude, Dave,
No,
you've gone so far off the path. Get your ass back together.
Well, that's what it's about.
And that's truly what it was, too. Like, all this, I was like, I suck. I'm going.
Because we had a couple conversations about it, yeah. But I was trying to go Sundays, and the only ones that I enjoyed was the Sunday mornings. And from what I can tell, at least, I haven't been in a minute, but what I could tell at least was that those are the last few Sundays that, at least at the time, that Skip was still pastoring at that church, and I get a lot from him because watching him pastor in general, watching him pastor is like you come away with something, you learn something, and this, I don't mean this is disrespect, but when his son does it, For
know what?
me, like
Yeah,
for
no,
me,
100%.
like for me,
And I will
don't-
say he has gotten better, and I think it's because of people were
But
kind of
what-
like,
but
"Hey,
what
buddy,
I-
like we."
But I don't get. I actually the last couple of times, like 2 or 3 times that I went, I left early because it wasn't so much of like it's teaching. It's just affirming what the general, maybe lukewarm Christian already knows. Is that
I don't know if I'd go that far.
It's like God is great, Jesus is awesome. Believe in Him, you go to heaven. Hell is bad. The world is bad, whatever. And that's what I pulled out of it. And I was just like, this dude is trying to be like this TikTok pastor. They're trying to get like the clips to put it out to make him bigger. And I didn't leave any sermon from his son feeling or knowing that I gained something out of it.
Yeah.
But then when I listen, because now what I do is, and I haven't as much as I should, but like what I usually do is I will just go on Spotify and go to what Skip puts on Spotify, and I'll just listen to those.
Yeah.
I'll find the part A and the part B, and I listen to those because at least from that I'll pull something out of it. Like
no, and
I'll-
I 100% agree with you. I mean,
you know what I mean? I feel like I'm going to school.
yeah.
Like you were saying, like
I will.
go-
I will say, as much as I 100% I'm on your side and truly agree with you. Like, there's even sometimes to where, like, I mean, you know, I understand like Skip will have like a prior obligation and need someone to fill in. It happens everywhere.
Yeah.
And then and I do like happened like 2 Wednesday nights ago, and I was like, man, like there is that feeling and there is
Yeah.
that difference. But I will say, you do have to give a little bit of grace. I mean, these are young pastors that are being pastored, that are trying to learn, that are trying to be better, that are stepping up, that are doing this. And and at least for Skip's son, he has gotten a lot better because he's filled in a lot since last time you've seen or whatever.
Yeah.
Homie's gotten better. You know, he's growing up.
Yeah,
He's
I just got to the point where I
Well,
was
you're
like,
born for God's plan, but you don't trip along the way.
Well,
so it's
well-
at the same point, like you're looking at this guy who's coming up and teaching something, and maybe the rest of us are like, but he's not giving anything that's outside of like.
it's nothing remotely heretical.
Yeah, he's not
But it's just
preaching a heretic, but yeah, I understand. It's not which- I get you.
I want to go to church to learn something.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't want to go to church to learn that either I like yes, I'm going to heaven, or I'm shitty, but thank God I'm going to heaven. I don't want to learn anything. I just want to learn something about the Bible. I want to learn something. I want to learn. I just want to know something I don't already know.
Come with me on Wednesdays, dog. You'll
So-
know that Bible in and out.
So and so that's why
You'll know the Hebrew that these words come from and their meanings.
right.
You'll know the geography. Come on Wednesday nights, dog.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard about the Wednesday nights. Is
Yeah.
that it's more of a Bible study
Yeah,
than
no,
it
yeah.
is like a
Yeah, it's not a sermon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's not for families. It's not. Well, we're coming to church to commune and to learn and to praise, and that's what
Right.
Sundays are. They're for praise. They're for worship. They're for a sermon. They're for families. Wednesday nights is It's
Well, and then so like
you're
when I
gonna
went
be
to
scholars.
So
of
when
this.
I went to Austin, I was there from a Tuesday to I think Tuesday to Tuesday or something. No, Thursday to Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking around for like a church to go to when I was out there. I just wanted to try something new.
Yeah.
And I just have a lot of Catholic friends. And they're
Yeah.
like, you find a fucking Catholic church. That'd be cool. So I found one.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, all right, that'd be nice. So I go and I was like, okay, ritual. And then it was just done. And I was like, oh, I don't really get a whole lot out of this. And I remember I texted one of my Catholic friends. I was like, hey, this is what happened. Like, is that normal? And he goes, yep, that's a Catholic church. I was like, well, I don't really get a whole... Like, what am I missing?
And to their credit, it's like they'll have their mass, and right, and that's kind of what you're talking about with but then they also is expected, especially of like members, that there is a lot more of what is it called? Starts with a C. I'm blanking right now. Tired. I can't remember. But before you be confirmed into the church, or even where you go through their adult program. What the heck is it called?
Talking about like their confirmation?
No, but even before
Catechism.
that. Yeah, when you go through
Right, yeah,
catechism, that's when,
catechism is the school that you go through, right?
but they even have one
Yeah.
for adults. It's like the RCIA. I don't remember exactly what it stands for.
Look,
but
we have Google.
Well,
Let's
like,
look that
that's
shit
where
up,
you-
yeah.
So like for me, I grew up Catholic. I'm all caught up on my sacraments right now, except for getting married in a Catholic church. Sorry on that one. Whoops.
Yeah, hey, your wedding was beautiful.
That's on me, Jesus. My bad. But
I think that was a great wedding. I loved it.
so I grew up Catholic. had all, my sacraments done. And at some point, it's not that I walked away, but it's that my youth, or like my life as a youth, just ended up not being there. I got into junior wrestling. All the tournaments were on Sundays. You didn't make church because you're at Rio Grande High School at fucking 4 a.m. trying to do your last minute weigh-ins while you're wearing a trash bag and Ugg boots. And, you're just eventually at some point, just because of the way that we did live, church did take a back seat. And you only showed up on like Easter, Christmas, the big ones. But
Yeah, the ones that God really cares about.
yeah, the one that everybody else in the church will have you believe that God cares about. So that was essentially how it took. And then just going into like my teenage years, just didn't go to church. It wasn't that I didn't believe. It wasn't that, I was an atheist or anything else like that. As we just didn't go.
I was trying to convert him for years. It didn't work.
Then psychedelics found me. And that was a whole nother fucking realm on its own, where I'm exploring different ideas. I'm trying to play around with everything. And I'm messing around with like, well, what if it's this? What if it's that? And I'm trying to like ask every question that's already been asked, not getting an answer. And then for my wife and I, there was one day we had a conversation. She ultimately asked, this was before we got together. And she goes, if you had kids, how would you want to raise them? I said, I want to raise them Catholic, or at least Protestant at like the minimum. And she goes, why? And I said, because I feel so lost for years, and I'm not going to deny my child the ability to have a community to fall back on. Because one thing that I realize now, being grown, is I could have fallen back on the initial faith that I had and found community without having to go through this big process that I ever did. But I didn't choose to. So I'm going to at least afford them the opportunity to, and if they choose to do the same path that I did, that's on them. And eventually, God willing, they find their way back. And when we started dating, because she grew up Catholic as well, and she had her own issues with the church. And we were just like, let's go to Legacy. Let's just start dipping our feet in, and eventually we'll find our way. Whether it's here, whether it's there, whether it's anywhere. And we went to Legacy mainly just because that's where my grandma went to church.
Keep going. I'm just gonna open the door and like get some fucking circulation. Here.
So that was pretty much just kind of like the way to, one, dip our feet in, two, spend time with family. That was it. And I immediately had so many problems with Legacy.
Yeah.
Did not like the way that they started their service, where it was just money, 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 money. Bro, even in the Catholic Church, I never had an issue with, like, they're like, hey,
Pass
give
the
your
plate.
tithes.
Yeah.
But, and, they passed the collection plate. That was it. They didn't bear on money so hard. But Legacy, like, their whole deal was like, hey, money, money, money. Even one, this one, like, sent me. There was one sermon that Steve did where he said, you're not a true Christian if you don't tithe to the church. That fucking sent me. That one, I instantly was like, we are not going to stay. This is not our church.
So the only pushback I would have on that is like 90% of me agrees with that. Agrees with like what you feel like, right? But the other 10% of me is like, okay, but in the Bible, it says,
So you're talking about old laws in like Leviticus.
No. Where Jesus says, "Give to Caesar was owed to Caesar,
and give to God what is his."
Right, yeah.
Yes. So that passage specifically, the physical money we have on this earth goes to the United States government, whatever. We're paying our taxes, we're doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But our hearts, our minds, our souls, everything belongs to God. We're to give that to God.
But where does tithing come into that?
So
in that specific,
so
like,
I think it's
passage.
like Matthew 7.
Feel free to look that up.
I can be entirely wrong. There's a it's either Matthew or Mark. I know it starts with an M, but I confuse it every time. It basically just says to like give of the charity of your own heart.
Yeah, he wants I can't remember the exact. I'm sure I can find it here, but it's like I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, it's like don't give, out of necessity, give out of your heart. If not, God don't want it.
Yeah, don't give money to the church because you think it's going to quite literally get you a ticket to heaven.
Right.
Give money because you believe in this, because this is what you need to keep the house of God alive. That's why. Your own heart will dictate why you're doing this. And like my wife, she doesn't necessarily give money to the church now. She gives it to different charity organizations that are Christian backed. Like she gave money to an organization that helps fund mothers who want to have abortions. It helps pay for childcare up to 2 or 3 years after delivery. So either it can help them work their way into adoption if it's not something they want, or eventually make the decision that they want to keep their child 2 to 3 years after delivery.
Which is a good grace period.
And
yeah.
so it helps these moms who are maybe on the fence, don't want to go straight to an abortion, or it was a mistake, and this organization is willing to help and make sure. So my wife gave money to that. Me, I dabble in between. Like there's certain like recovery organizations that I want to give to. There's different areas, because the church receiving money is not an uncommon thing. But giving to God what is God's, I'm giving back to his creation.
Yeah, and it's like in the New Testament, there's no specific verse that's like, oh yeah, tithe your 10%, tithe this, tithe that. Even the 10%, I mean, that's taken from
Leviticus, to give to the Levites,
so they
can
stay
survive.
With it. But we see examples like in Acts, when the early church is born, first being made and born, that there would be people that would sell off portions of land to give money to the church, or like there was even the one where and that kind of goes back to doing it with a faithful and good heart out of want, not necessity. There was a story in Acts, I think it's Acts 10, I think, where this husband
voice, you're lying.
Yeah, this husband and wife see that another couple goes in, sells off half their land, takes the proceeds from that and gives it to the church, and kind of sees that they get a little bit of praise for it, or they're a little bit of likeness for it. So like, oh, we'll do the same thing, not out of I want to give to the church to build it, to strengthen it, to use it to feed the poor, feed the hungry, like the early church was doing, but out of like a prideful way, so people would look at them like, oh wow, look how generous and awesome these people are. So they sell off a portion of their land and give the money to church. And I think, again, I need more study, but I think they were talking to Peter, and he was like, yeah, so this is all the money that you got from the land that you're giving church. Yep, all of it. Really? All of it? And in reality, Holy Spirit was kind of tipping him off that it wasn't it. And for lying and for doing that, dude dropped dead. Asked his wife the exact same thing, collaborates the same story, drops dead. And the idea is, not of a faithful heart, not of joy, not of, it was out of, oh, look at me, look what I've done, look at this. But I mean, I guess to answer your question, there is no specific.
Well,
thing in the New Testament, at least.
You even go back to Genesis, right, between Cain and Abel, right? One brother gives the best of everything he has.
But anyways, you should finish off why after you came to Christianity before we get off on a tangent.
Sorry. But anyways,
all in.
So that sent me, because I knew that there was more than just the money aspect of it. And I think I did get fed up with, like nice watches, all of this showing up, the Joel Osteens of the world working their way through that.
Those are the extremes, but it's still good to like mention that
prosperity theology idea. I was like, absolutely not. So Maramari Emmanuel, right? Is his full name? I started listening to him. He's
can you pull him up real quick?
Did you see he got excommunicated? And started another church.
Yeah, I saw that. I started bouncing between like different Catholics, different Orthodox, Protestants, just going in on listening to different people. And then...
Oh, yeah, I've seen this dude on Instagram and shit.
Dude got stabbed in the eye, and the guy that stabbed him, like, pretty much almost cut off his own finger because the knife closed on him when he went to go stab. The dude sat down and started praying for him and started tending to his wounds. Imagine someone trying to end your life.
That guy. Yeah.
So
dude's a saint.
So,
to get exiled from the church.
Right. So that
look at why
really
he got
set me.
exiled.
It's a whole long thing, but it was because it was simple things. It's like because he would call people sweetie, or because he sounded too. I mean,
Yeah. Just see what you can get.
So, anyways, that really put me in a position where, you know, I was raised, if you're going to be a janitor, you're going to be the best damn janitor you ever seen. If you're going to be a ditch digger, those are going to be the best ditches you ever seen in your life. Well, that really started to come to life when I came to Christianity is I'm going to be the best Christian. And real quick, I was hit right in the face.
good luck.
That I suck. And it wasn't until like
go.
months later that I was faced with a video on Instagram that was talking about that somebody tried to stump a theologian about like the weight of sin and said, well, if sin's so heavy, then why do I feel free? And the response said, if you place a 400-pound stone on a dead body, does it feel anything? And the guy goes, no. And he goes, exactly. Without God, you're dead. And he goes, it's not until you're alive that sin became heavy. And I think it was at that moment.
Oh shit! That's a good way to put it.
True.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like at that moment that my whole like life really became heavy. I felt sluggish, dude. And so
Like when you understand the feeling of actually breaking God's heart.
And so the day that I made that recommitment, because, you know, I was baptized as a baby. I grew up always believing in God until obviously like my formative years, my teenage years, my early 20s, where I started having those issues. Once I came back, I felt that weight lift, and it was beautiful. You know, I stumble, I make my screw ups every day. I am nowhere near even close to where I wish I was. And I fall.
But a lot better where you came from.
Yeah, I fall, I turn back to God, and I feel lighter. I don't feel lighter because I'm just like, oh, hey, forgive me. Oh, I feel so much better for that. I genuinely, like, in my heart, like, I want to cry every time I turn. Every time I turn back to God, I'm, like, wanting to cry. Like, yeah, and it's the story of the prodigal son, right? I don't deserve why I'm coming back and all these riches and all the glory that's coming to me. But the reason why is that I'm receiving all of this is because I came back. Even though I walked away and I spent all my dad's money and I've been destroying everything else, all the Father cared about was that I came back. And that, you know, all angels in heaven rejoice when even one person comes back.
Right. Yeah.
You know, the one sheep out of 99.
Yeah, the 99.
Every proverb that's ever been told, that was. And so when I really had that moment and especially when my wife said that she was pregnant, that even set another standard in my head that when my son arrives here, I'm going to do everything that I can to be a standard. Even if I'm falling down behind closed doors, I'm going to set a standard. Because if I'm falling behind closed doors and repenting to God, my son sees a man that's standing forward. Eventually, when he's old enough, I'll have these conversations with him.
And sees a man that, oh, wow, look how strong daddy is. Even he needs Jesus. You know? How am I not going to?
And I'm never going to not give credit to God.
Yeah.
It's all going to be the only reason why I stand in front of you is because God let me. The only reason why we have everything we have is because God allowed me to. And all of this can be taken away in an instant because God decided I have corrupted everything. Or because I chose to go a different path that shined away from that light. So me having my son presented in front of me brought forth a new light that the only way I'm going to do this right is to have God in front of me. There's plenty of people out there who will say, like, oh, I'm an atheist and I raised my kid right, or oh, I'm this and I've never had an issue. And I think for me, it's realizing the only way I'm going to be successful is to have God in front of me and to be following behind him at every step of the way. Because that's how my faith is what's going to bring my son life. The same story of like Abraham and Isaac, right? His faith that God would not let him kill his own son is what brought his son life. What eventually led all the way down the line to what we have today.
Right.
And that's the only way that I can achieve that. So I have to go forth with that same heart. And it sucks because I fall all the time and I feel horrible. But knowing that on my side, the one religion that I cannot, because, like I said, I've done my whole little
Tried them all.
I've went through pretty much almost every. There was a brief point where I'm not even gonna lie, Islam I like looked into. I'm not even kidding.
He's like, even the dirty Muslims.
There was a brief point where I was like, what if there's something? I'm tired. What if there's something? And I could not get behind a single thing about it. I was like, all of this feels disgusting. I feel horrible for even considering like the most pure version of this because it still feels wrong. Judaism, considered that. And guess what? I felt awful the entire time.
Yeah, you read a couple seconds into the Talmud, you're like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, like
What does the Talmud say about having sex with 3-year-olds? I don't know.
the Talmud was one of those things where I was like, that doesn't sound right.
I don't know if I want to go to school for that one.
And Christianity was like the one thing where it has a set standard. Never turn to somebody in anger, no matter how many times they wronged you, but stand your ground. Don't let them take any more from you. But you're not going out and pursuing anything else than what is rightfully given to you by God.
Right.
There's not this standard of defacing anybody around you. Now, what mankind has done in the past, I think that's what led to the majority of people's issues is, you know, the corruption of man themselves have created their own issues. Where the rest of us go, oh, well, since the Catholic Church sold tickets to heaven back in like, that's my problem. You're like, in the Bible, does it say you can buy your way into heaven?
Right. Yeah,
No, because that's the whole camel passing through the eye of a needle. You can't just buy your way into heaven. So there it is.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
People don't have an issue with God, they have an issue with man. And that's their problem. And I think a lot of people need to become aware of that fact that they have an issue with what somebody else has done to them, and now they're cursing God in that name, rather than realizing there's evil in this world. That's not of God.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the underlying...
Here's somebody else use the Bible to try and, make a point, and then they just take it as fact, and it's like, bro, have you read it yourself?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was great. First of all, but second of all, yeah, that's the underlying theme that I see with a lot of my friends that have that step away from Christianity is because of the church, and it's like, okay, well, it sounds like to me you had a bad experience with a human.
Yeah,
well, and him and I had a whole conversation.
Yeah,
about
and
the
simple answer to that is if I picked up a violin right now and tried playing Beethoven, you would hate it.
That doesn't mean you should hate Beethoven.
That doesn't mean you should hate Beethoven. Exactly.
Like him and I had a massive conversation about traditional Orthodox ways of thinking versus Protestant ways. Which one's right, or is there a middle ground between the two? Ultimately, we just ended up to a point where we're like, hey, we're both kind of confused.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because
it's better than saying you're right about everything.
Yeah, no, I definitely will never say that I'm right about it, because that would assume that I have some type of authority to know that.
Right.
It's
that you're omniscient on it.
Yeah, it's and that's not the case. So it's always up to, maybe.
So before we get out of here, what happened with this guy? Why did he
Bishop Mari? So yeah, he got excommunicated from the. Was it the Orthodox Church or was it the Assyrian Church?
Assyrian.
Is it?
So scroll up a little bit just so I can see the headline of this. So first fact checked.
This is just about who he is, but here's the reasons, the allegations.
Okay, so allegations against Marty Emanuel that he breached the canon laws of the church. One, that Marty is not allowed to live with his mother, has to live in the church premises. His answer, the Council of Nicaea, pointed out that bishops, presbyters, did I pronounce that right? Presbyters or deacons could not live with housekeepers unless she is mother or sister or an aunt or a person above suspicion. 2, he must attend evening and morning prayer on a daily basis. Only attendance at a Eucharist is required. Second Council of Constantinople. 3, Marty cannot wear the Baruna or head covering, traditional Assyrian head covering. Saint Ephraim, Saint Isaac, etc. That he can't use images of saints and leaflets and on church premises. He points out that there are statues and images in all churches. Marty is
that's a wild one.
Forbidden To run a charity to help those in what? That's a crazy one. Can't run a charity.
As like a bishop.
Okay. Marty Marty's forbidden from being in church hall for tea or coffee. Wait, okay. For tea or coffee after Bible preach, so-called dinner or parties. Acts chapter 2.
So
verse
yeah, what you're
6.
reading after that's like his rebuttal because I watched the whole video. He said
Right,
there on
okay.
a huge rebuttal.
Okay, so number 7, Marty Marty is forbidden to use words of endearment to members of his parish, especially women. Beloved in the Bible, words of endearment do not reflect a relationship, but are used to complete strangers to reflect politeness or kindness of heart. A part of Australian culture, darling, dearie, etc. Is he Australian?
Yeah, he lives in Australia.
He lives in Australia.
He's a Syrian,
Okay.
But like he would always call everyone sweetie, or when he would be doing like a sermon, he would always like be like my sweeties, my beloveds, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
And
And
he's
then-
just
okay.
like, really?
So number 8, Marty Marty is forbidden to lead a guided tour through Jerusalem and wave an Australian flag. So you can't wave the Australian, or I guess a foreign nation's flag in Jerusalem.
Again, this is church canon rules. I don't know
Okay.
everything about the Orthodox.
Okay,
And exactly what he's talking about
Well,
there.
quite frankly, I wouldn't be opposed to that rule being in America, but whatever. Marty Marty is forbidden to use a mobile phone and an earphone. AirPods are sick. Fuck off.
Well, okay, so he would give his sermons, he would use like, like the one that's like kind of over the air with a mic or whatever.
So a microphone?
Yeah.
So because
as speaking.
if you
in a church.
watch like in certain sermons, you'll notice every Catholic priest or like Orthodox, they
Yeah.
have the microphone on their lapel or like collar.
Okay.
This is just
He just has it on his ear coming down here. That's too Protestant, bro.
I feel like God is a little okay with that. I feel like if we're made in God's image, that means God has some sort of common sense.
Yeah, so basically this is why they excommunicate him. But he said that he started a new church that still has apostolic succession. And how is that possible? I mean, maybe someone else that is of the Catholic and Orthodox faith would
Yeah,
let me know.
I don't know about that. Speaking of Orthodox, I am still going to try my damnedest to get old Boyd on this podcast.
Yeah, you should.
To get fucking Dom on this podcast. I'm trying so fucking hard.
so
That's a whole other conversation, but I'm trying to still get him on this bitch.
Tell him audio only.
Fuck it. I'll do it.
he gets to
that'd be cool.
sit in that position, and I'll sit right here, and I'll just be like,
That-
I'll mouth to like what he's saying.
But this has been fun. This has been good. This is a great first episode. Normally this is where I give my my guests a plug to their Instagram and all that and their shows coming up. But
No,
Give the plug to Jesus Christ.
yeah, exactly. Read the Bible.
go to church.
Christ
go
is
to
God.
church.
Go to church. Read the Bible. Try to learn.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you for coming back and doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you, David, for coming back and sitting in the producer chair. It feels good to be away from fucking Only Kings.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna be
for
honest.
sure.
Yeah, it feels good.
Can't be speaking about Christ with a name like Only
know.
Kings podcast.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Well, I mean, Christ is king.
I was
Only
gonna-
king.
I was
The
gonna say, and I
only
think-
king.
That's good.
And I think
That's
God
good.
would be okay with me making fun of his degeneracy.
that is-
This is. Yeah, that's the new. We'll get that hung up eventually. What were you saying? The spring
Oh, like
Bolt-
anchor bolts? Yeah.
anchor bolts. I'll buy some anchor bolts. Maybe get this hung up. Big thank you
Or-
again to
That's not what they're
Nevin
called. What are they called?
for building that.
I think it starts with a T. I don't remember. But yeah.
Okay, cool.
Or just
Well,
like a lot of like 3M tape. Like a lot of it.
yeah,
All of
maybe.
it. Everything.
Some JB weld. It's a rental. Who cares?
Well, because exactly. Because I was
Take the drywall with you. That's a patch job.
well because I when I was thinking about it, I didn't think about the fact that it had like the protruding
to actually hang
hangers.
it correctly.
like things to hang it on. So I'm just gonna fucking line this bitch with command strips and just
Dude, it would fall at 3 o'clock in the morning and kill your neighbor downstairs.
hey, you know what? Fuck them. That's fine.
That's what they get for having the first floor. I had to lug a washer and dryer standing combo up these fucking stairs, all because this poor bastard couldn't get a first story apartment.
This is true. Hey, it's a second story condo. Thank you.
What's the difference?
Nothing. Exactly. Not a whole lot.
You get to sound fancier when you say condo.
Oh, I live in a loft. Okay, so you have
Overlurking.
your bedroom and your kitchen is the same
Hey,
thing.
the good news is once you get into hunting, archery shop's right across the street.
yeah,
Which one?
Archery shop.
the archery shop.
The archery shop. Great.
Yeah, that's literally the name, the archery shop.
Cool.
Or Shop A. I actually don't know.
Is it shop with an E?
Yeah,
2 E's, I think, right?
something.
Yeah, it's something weird like
Maybe
that.
2 P's.
There could have been.
Wow.
00.
The shop with an E was already taken, so they just added another one. It's kind of like the username
I know
thing.
there's an
This name's
SH.
already taken. You just add another one
It's
until it's not taken.
SHO. After that, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. We'll do it again. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, mate.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you like what you've seen here, please share it with as many people as possible. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. It really does help out the podcast. And if you're feeling extra generous, feel free to subscribe to our Patreon, which I have coming soon.